Game Day. It's football to the max.
Into the corner, wonderful goal.
Game Day exclusive.
On Talksport 2.
Good afternoon to you and welcome to Old Trafford, wherever and however you're listening to Talksport 2. Our second live Premier League commentary on Game Day is just an hour away here, and it promises so much as Manchester United take on Brighton Hove Albion.
Disaster for Manchester United right at the end of the game.
Big progress in our performance.
But ultimately, if Manchester United can improve from the low base they'd set before the game at the Emirates, then they can have a positive season.
Brilliant finish from Jadon Sancho.
You have to reach a level every day on Manchester United, and we can make choices.
Why are you creating this war with one of your players when surely there's a better way of motivating him?
Brighton in Europe, how good does that sound, and how good does this sound?
Oh, that's a wonderful individual goal from Kaoru Mitoma. Evan Ferguson lashes home his second.
Brighton is a club who can help the young player.
I think they're going to finish in the Champions League places.
Well, even though we've had an international break, this particular part of Manchester has once again seen more than its fair share of off-the-field stories dominating the media this past fortnight. One player taking an enforced leave of absence, another singled out over his apparent lack of commitment in training, whilst one, only currently on the fringes of Erik ten Hag's squad, was pressed into service for his country on Tuesday and made unwanted headlines even then. Factor in 2 defeats away from home in the league and continuing fan unrest over the Glazers' ownership of the club, and Manchester United are rarely off the back or front pages of your newspapers. Meanwhile, Roberto De Zerbi's Seagulls arrive here having something of a sign over their illustrious hosts, having won the last 3 Premier League encounters, including here on opening weekend last season, inflicting defeat on Ten Hag in his first game as Manchester United boss. But the Red Devils have not lost at home since that day in August 2022, and they seek a 9th successive home win this afternoon in the Premier, whilst Brighton, they seek a 4th successive league away win. Well, there was much speculation about the United 11 that Ten Hag would select, given winger Antony's absence back in Brazil and injury doubts surrounding Varane and Martinez at centre-half. Well, Martinez is fit, Varane is not. They've made 3 changes in the end, Manchester United, from the 3-1 defeat at Arsenal. There is a first start for Rasmus Højlund up front. Sergio Reguilon comes in at full-back. Wan-Bissaka drops to the bench, and that means Diogo Dalot will switch back to right-back. And Scott McTominay gets a chance in midfield, having played for his country in midweek against England. He goes alongside Casemiro, allowing Eriksen to push a little further forward. So Manchester United lineup: Andre Onana in goal. It'll be a back 4 of Diogo Dalot, Victor Lindelof, Lisandro Martinez and Sergio Reguilon, Casemiro and Scott McTominay holding, and then Christian Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford in behind Rasmus Højlund in attack. On the bench, Altay Bayindir is on the bench, the recent arrival on deadline day as the sub-keeper. Harry Maguire, Anthony Martial, Alejandro Garnacho, Facundo Pellistri, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Johnny Evans, Daniel Gore and Hannibal Mejbri. As for Brighton, well, they thumped Newcastle by 3-1 in their last fixture before the international break. But that doesn't stop Roberto De Zerbi making 6, yes, that's 6 changes in all. Outgo goalkeeper for Bruggen, Estupinian, who's come back from international duty but isn't even on the bench today. Gilmour, Pedro, March and Ferguson. Ferguson is fit enough for the bench after a sore knee. The players coming in: Steele, Lamptey, Dahoud, Lallana, Adingra and Welbeck, the former Manchester United striker. And it looks, we'll talk about this with Perry Groves in just a moment, as though Brighton might be shifting their formation slightly to 3 at the back. If that is to be the case, Jason Steele will be in goal. In front of him, Joel Veltman, Jan-Paul van Hecke and Lewis Dunk. Tariq Lamptey and Simon Adingra will be the wing-backs. And then Adam Lallana, Pascal Gross, Mahmoud Dahoud and Kaoru Mitoma in behind Danny Welbeck in attack. The bench: Bart Verbruggen's the sub-keeper, Igor Julio, Adam Webster, James Milner, Joao Pedro, Billy Gilmour, recent signing Carlos Baleba, Evan Ferguson and Ansu Fati is on the bench as well, recently signed on loan from Barcelona. Perry Groves, former title winner with Arsenal, is alongside me here at Old Trafford this afternoon. How are you, pal?
Afternoon, Dan. You good?
Yes, very well, thank you. What do you make of that team news, incidentally? Brighton making 6 changes from a winning side, maybe 1 or 2 of those enforced, and Manchester United bringing Scott McTominay in and giving Højlund his first full start.
Yeah, the Manchester United setup doesn't surprise me with Scott McTominay coming in midfield, because it's been well documented throughout the beginning of this season that Manchester United have lacked legs in midfield, especially away from home. Obviously they're brilliant here at Old Trafford. You mentioned, I think it's 31 all comp stance, isn't it, where they've not been beaten at Old Trafford, won 27 and drew 4. So McTominay will go alongside Casemiro. You said there for Manchester United, I think Eriksen will go on the right of a 4-2-3-1 with Rashford on the left, and Højlund, who looked very impressive when he come on at the Emirates for his sort of half an hour, didn't have a little cameo. He gave Manchester United an out. He's very, very quick. Maybe he's a little bit raw, being 20 years of age, but he'll give something from Rashford and Eriksen to feed off of.
There are notable absentees on the Manchester United team sheet. Anthony, we know, is back in Brazil contesting charges that have been alleged against him, but Jadon Sancho also not involved. Erik ten Hag was asked many questions at the pre-match press conference yesterday, declined to answer them really directly. Now, he handled the Cristiano Ronaldo situation superbly a year ago, Perry. How do you feel that Erik ten Hag is handling the Jadon Sancho situation?
Well, let's be honest, Erik ten Hag was brought in fundamentally, he's a very, very good manager with his record out at Ajax, and played attacking front foot football, which the Old Trafford faithful want to see, but he was brought in to change the discipline, because again it was well documented that under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, under Ralf Rangnick, the culture was very, very toxic, and there was no discipline basically. The players were coming and going as they pleased. The training wasn't particularly great. There was a lot of lateness. So when Erik ten Hag came in, he had to deal with the Cristiano Ronaldo situation, and actually I think he handled that brilliantly, because he let Ronaldo bury himself, because he didn't suit the way that Ten Hag wanted to play number 1, because he wants to play a high press, and Ronaldo wanted to do that. And then his behaviour, going away from reserve team games at half time, gesticulating on the bench, when he's been substituted and storming down the tunnel. So he solved that problem, and then that should have sent the message out to all the other players that you don't mess with Erik ten Hag.
Yeah.
That he is the leader. He will set the rules, regulations and the discipline, and then you toe the line. It doesn't matter how good you are. So I think what we've seen with Manchester United last season, they did improve. They improved on the pitch, came third, won obviously the League Cup, but the situation that has unfolded here, you can tell, is a complete lack of discipline and lateness, and it's incredible when you think that a player, if it's reported, could behave like that and try and take Erik ten Hag on. And the one thing you don't do is you don't make it public, Dance. Do you know what I mean? You don't take your manager on in public, because there's only ever going to be one winner.
Yeah, he took that post down on the artist formerly known as Twitter during the course of midweek, but Jadon Sancho is training on his own at the moment as he attempts to get to a fitness level that Erik ten Hag is happy with. Just before we move on to Brighton, a debut for Sergio Reguilon at fullback today. We know what he can do. We've seen him play for Spurs. But Rasmus Højlund seems to be seen as the answer to United's attacking issues. Is that a lot of pressure to put on a 20-year-old?
It is, because obviously, as we said before, he's very raw. So he's very, very quick. He wants to learn. And reports coming in from one of his coaches when he was young in Denmark, that he said that they reminded him of Nicholas Bentner. So with the belief he had in his own ability. Let's hope he doesn't go like Lord Bentner did and actually think that he was good enough to captain Brazil.
Nicky B.
Because he obviously wasted the talent that he had in.
Yes.
But apparently with Rasmus Højlund, his character is a lot different. That he wants to learn, he wants to take information on board, he wants to get better. And obviously they said that they remind him of Haaland, a younger version obviously. So if he can have the impact that Haaland's had at Man City, Manchester United, then the Manchester United fans would be more than happy with Rasmus Højlund. And I said before, when you're looking at Marcus Rashford is always better when he plays off of a centre forward who's mobile and can hold the ball up. That doesn't happen with Martial, because when you see Anthony Martial, he barely breaks into a jog dance, isn't he? I've seen him live like 3 or 4 times, and off the ball he's very lazy. And Højlund as well will be brilliant off the ball, because he will instigate the press. He will put the centre halves under pressure, whether they play a 3 at the back where it's Veltman, Van Hecker and Dunk, or it's 2 centre halves. he'll make sure he engages them.
Well, Hoyland is up against Lewis Dunk, you just mentioned, who had a terrific performance for England in the week against Scotland in that friendly. Arguably the most in-form, fit English centre-half in the Premier League at the moment. But it looks, as you just mentioned there in passing, Perry, looks like Roberto De Zerbi, having made sweeping changes for the Newcastle win, looks to be changing system as well.
Yeah, he likes to freshen up, doesn't he, De Zerbi? It doesn't matter how the results gone before. And the surprise was when you have Verbruggen and Jason Steele keep changing, because we've seen Brighton a couple of times live, and Jason Steele's been outstanding. No, not in his handling, but he's brilliant with the ball at his feet, where he pings the ball through the midfield into Dahoud and into Gross. And you mentioned Lewis Dunk. I thought he was absolutely outstanding against Scotland midweek. I thought he was brilliant defensively, where he commanded the 18-yard box. He won his defensive headers. But what's very underestimated with Lewis Dunk is that he's brilliant on the ball. He's very, very good, where he was pinging it into Jude Bellingham, he was pinging it into Declan Rice, he was bypassing Scotland's press.
Would he have been a bit upset that all the headlines were about another English centre-half and that Lewis Dunk maybe didn't get the credit that he deserved in the tabloids?
No, I think he'll just be really, really pleased with the way that he played. You know, you've got to take your opportunities. Obviously, Gareth Southgate decided to put him in to see if he could handle. Let's be honest, Dan, that was a massive game against Scotland. 150th game, England v Scotland. Scotland were in brilliant form before that. They'd won 5 on the trot. So I think as well, Gareth Southgate was probably testing Lewis Dunk's his character and his temperament, and I thought he came through with flying colours. And he's obviously Brighton's captain. He's thrived on that responsibility. And we'll see Brighton play today, whether they play 3 centre-halves or 2 centre-halves. They will split. The centre-halves will split. And De Zerbi he likes to sort of tease the opposition, doesn't he? He likes to just entice them onto him so then he can play through them. So there's going to be a lot of cat and mouse going on today, and Lewis Dunk is the main player that starts the ball from the back.
You and me watched Brighton demolish Wolves at Molineux a couple of weeks ago on game day. At Molineux at the moment, incidentally, it's still 1-1 between Wolves and Liverpool. That's live on Talksport right now with about 7 minutes to play. Wolves did have the lead, but an equaliser from Liverpool through Cody Gakpo in the second half has got things level. But Brighton were smashing at Molineux with that 4-1 win that they got a couple of weeks ago. Just quickly, what's De Zerbi done to take things on still further from what Graham Potter had with Brighton's players?
I think he's made them more efficient. I think he's made them more ruthless in the final third, because when you saw Graham Potter's Brighton play, they were very easy on the eye, but sometimes there was one pass too many in the final third. And if you looked at Brighton last year, 8 of their players scored 5 or more Premier League goals, so he spreads the goals around the team. They like the high press as well under De Zerbi, and they've got the record this season in the Premier League from winning the high press and turnovers in the opposition's defensive third, which they've won it 49 times, and then they've gone on to have 13 shots. So that's what he's changed as well, where I think sometimes under Graham Potter, Brighton just retreated a little bit. They weren't as emphatic off the ball, and I just think I always think that teams mirror managers, and I think with De Zerbi, I think he's just got this bit of edge about him, Gantz. We see him, don't we, bouncing up and down in the technical area.
Well, having a go at Christian Stellini at Spurs last year. Do you remember that he wasn't backman and coming forward there, was he?
Yeah, and I think his team mirrors him, and apparently away you have sort of 2 personalities, don't you, where he's this sort of hot head sort of firebrand character on the touchline with his players, but then when the game's finished, they said he's very, very respectful. He knew all about Brighton's history when he first came here. He knew about them when they played at the Withdean Stadium, when they basically nearly went bankrupt, didn't they, when they were down in the EFL, in the old 4th division, which is obviously now League 2. So I think he's endeared himself not only to the owners and the players, but obviously the Brighton fans as well.
Looking around us here at Old Trafford, starting to fill up. It'll be 75,000 strong before too long ahead of kick-off here. Live on Talksport 2 at 3 o'clock between Manchester United and Brighton. Liverpool have just taken the lead live on Talksport at Wolves. Andy Robertson stealing forward to turn in a Mo Salah cross from the right-hand side. Wolves 1, Liverpool 2. You can listen to the last few minutes of that over on Talksport with Sam Matterface and Martin Keown, your commentary team at Molineux. But now here on Talksport 2, it's time for us to get a quick weather report, all thanks to our friends at Quick Fit. Well, our Talksport 2 exclusive here at Old Trafford with kick-off at 3 p.m. Manchester United facing Brighton. The rain cleared from the far north of the region this morning, soon replaced with showers from the south, but we've not seen any rain since we've been here in Manchester this lunchtime. Breezy, but feeling a little warmer than recently. And at 5:30 tonight, it's Newcastle versus Brentford, with updates on Talksport from Steve Harmison at St James's. Another cloudy day up in the northeast with fairly persistent but generally light rain and drizzle throughout. You know what that means, Perry, if you're sitting in that press box at Newcastle. Light drizzle means you get soaked.
It's an absolute gale, isn't it? Because you're up, you're elevated, and you're right on the top of Newcastle. So that means that you have to get your hands and then get your notes so they don't blow away. Because
as you have nearly done about 4 times already this afternoon.
A nervous breakdown otherwise.
Although conditions will become drier into the late afternoon but remain cloudy. I never knew I was a weatherman. There used to be that guy on old Auntie Beeb who used to say, that's the weather for now. And he used to say it with almost like a hint of foreboding. Like, right, there's weather now, but there's going to be no weather tomorrow, or something like that.
It just makes you laugh scary when they actually say the weather's going to be variable. It means I haven't got a clue. Don't know whether it's going to rain.
Lick your finger, stick your finger out the window, see what happens.
You think there's stratus clouds down?
Oh, but cirrostratus. Yeah, I think so. Cumulonimbus up there as well. That was today's weather report, brought to you by Quick Fit, with over 600 centres across the UK, most of which are open 7 days a week. Quick Fit are here for every journey like away day travels. Just find your local centre at quickfit.com. When we come back shortly on Game Day exclusive here on Talksport 2, we'll dip into the wonder kid that's arrived on loan at Brighton. He's on the bench today. Will we see Ansu Fati make an appearance, and what has happened to him since he came through at the age of 16 at Barcelona? More on that in just a tick on Talksport 2. We're at Old Trafford this afternoon. Ian Danter and Perry Groves, former Arsenal title winner, were about 40 minutes away from kick-off. Manchester United against Brighton, exclusively live and kick by kick here on Talksport 2 from 3 p.m. We'll talk more about Manchester United and all the headlines surrounding them, particularly those around Jadon Sancho, with the Guardian's Jamie Jackson, who will join us here at Old Trafford in the next 15 minutes. Liverpool are now 3-1 up in the last knockings at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Harvey Elliott has scored the third for Liverpool. That's live on Talksport right now. And we're just getting word that Roy Hodgson is not in attendance for Crystal Palace as they take on Aston Villa today at Villa Park. He's been taken unwell and is not part of the Crystal Palace travelling party. We, of course, wish Roy all the best, and hopefully it's a quick, speedy recovery for the Palace manager. Let's talk Brighton and Hove Albion as the Manchester United players come out to warm up from the tunnel down to our left-hand side. Now, Brighton are no longer a side merely making up the numbers in the top flight. Best ever finish in their history last season, placing 6th. A debut in European competitions just 5 days away now, and a transfer and recruitment policy that is the envy of the rest of the professional game, pretty much. One of the latest incomings is on the bench today, 20-year-old Ansu Fati, a season-long loan from Barcelona, a young man who was breaking all sorts of records 4 years ago for club and for his country, Spain, but arrives in the Premier League with something of a point to prove to himself and those who've touted him for greatness. Have Brighton pulled off another transfer coup here? We asked Talksport's European football expert Kev Hatchard to run the rule over the young Spaniard.
Ansu Fati became Barcelona's youngest ever goal scorer in 2019 at the age of just 16. And at that stage, he was a joy. He was a skillful bundle of promise. He was happy to take on defenders, happy to embarrass established veterans. A year later, he scored a goal, made a goal on his first start for Spain, and he was something of a national phenomenon.
Ansu Fati from about 20 yards, getting it on his right foot, shooting low to the goalkeeper's right.
Similar to what's happening with Barcelona's Lamine Yamal at the moment. But then the injuries came. He suffered a torn meniscus that kept him out for nearly a year. And at the age of 18, he'd already had 4 operations. He's had muscle injuries since. You get the sense that he doesn't quite trust his body, and he hasn't quite rediscovered that seemingly effortless brilliance that the 16-year-old Fati had. I think he needs games, he needs trust. He needed to get away from the goldfish bowl of Barcelona, and that's where Brighton, I think, offer the perfect solution, because Roberto De Zerbi will build his confidence.
Fati is a big player. We have to help him because he is not complete in his qualities.
He'll give him some tactical guidance as well, and I think he can rediscover the true Ansu Fati.
So he's on the bench today, Ansu Fati for Brighton. Perry Groves, former Arsenal title winner, is alongside me here in our commentary position. Now, Brighton have barely made a mistake in the transfer market. Do you sense that this is another stroke of genius from Gary Bloom and co?
Yeah, their recruitment is outstanding, and I think with Ansu Fati, what Kevin said there was that he just needs to get his confidence back in his body. You know, if you tear your meniscus at that young age, then you come back, and what happens is you end up putting pressure on other parts of your body.
Remind us where the meniscus is.
Meniscus?
Yeah.
Knee.
It's your knee?
Yeah.
Right.
No, what, you surgeon? No?
I'm not sort of, no, you'd know. I don't know what a meniscus is.
Yeah, so, but then what happens
I know what a metatarsal is, but we're so used to that now.
That was trendy back in the 90s.
It was, yeah, Wayne Rooney and all that.
Basically, it's your big toe bone, the metatarsal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, and what happens is you end up putting more pressure on other parts of your body, whether it's your calf, whether it's your hamstring, whether it's your thighs and your quads. So I think he has picked the ideal club for him to re-establish himself and get his career going in, because of the way that Brighton play. They're very fluid in their system. They play total football, and when you look at Ansu Fati, he can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play as a false 9, he can play as a number 10, the creator, he can play a little bit deeper as a holding midfielder. So he'll be used in varying different positions for Brighton, and he's only 20 years of age. So what they've got to make sure, what Roberto De Zerbi said there, Dance, was that they've got to make sure that he's 100% fit before they even give him 90 minutes in the Premier League. So, because obviously the Premier League is one of the most exacting leagues in world football. So we just got to make sure that that his body's right and it can stand up to the rigours of the Premier League.
So he's done the right thing, having him on the bench and just gradually easing him into things. But we could probably sense that this block of games in between international breaks, we'll probably see him start sooner rather than later, won't we?
Well, you've got obviously the Europa League coming up, so that might suit him. I might think that, Roberto Zerbi might think, right, in the European football, it's not quite as high tempo as what the Premier League is. So
what
you might
a great group as well that they've got.
Well, AEK Athens, Ajax
and Marseille.
Marseille, exactly. The Brighton fans will be licking their lips, obviously, especially for the away trips to those massive clubs. And I really felt De Zerbi will want to win the Europa League. He makes changes anyway. We said he makes 6 changes today, so his squad has got the depth. And I said there, you won't want to be going up to the Amex when Brighton are in full flow on a Thursday night.
We shouldn't forget, actually, Perry, that Manchester United have got a European campaign coming up. Their Champions League campaign starts on Wednesday, live on Talksport at Bayern Munich. Harry Kane and all that. Which team is better placed to qualify from their respective group? Manchester United from their Champions League group or Brighton from their Europa League group?
I would say Brighton from their Europa League group, without a shadow of a doubt, because they're in good form at the moment. So look, with Manchester United here at Old Trafford, we said before it's a fortress, but away from home, I think that could be Manchester United's Achilles heel in the Champions League. They're away from home form because it's very poor, because all the team don't defend. They don't defend as a group.
I think the two games against Galatasaray are probably going to be crucial. You would expect Manchester United to give Copenhagen a game. Bayern Munich are clearly the favourites for that group, but if they can get anything in those 2 games against the Turkish side, I think that's probably them through to the knockout stages. We're about 35 minutes away from kick-off. Live on Talksport 2 today, Manchester United against Brighton. There are other 3 o'clock games in the Premier League today. Let's have a quick word about those, Perry. Villa against Palace. We've just mentioned the fact that Roy Hodgson's unwell and not attending today's game. Villa, terrific at home, but Palace aren't bad away either.
Yeah, if you look at Palace, their away from home form is pretty good. They won the last game at home 3-2 against Wolves, but they've only scored 5 goals in their 11 Premier League games at Villa Park. So historically, they're not too good there. We send our thoughts and best wishes said to Roy Hodgson. Yes. Obviously, speedy recovery. But with Aston Villa, they've only lost 1 of their 11 home Premier League games against Crystal Palace. So you'd expect Aston Villa at Villa Park. We know how they play. They play with that high line. It's whether Villa can exploit that. Edouard is in really good goal scoring form for Palace. 4 goals in his last 6 Premier League games, 3 this season. So and Eze obviously coming back from being away with England's well, he'll be on a high. So I think that could be a Villa win, but both teams scoring.
Just quickly, Luton and Sheffield United, two promoted sides, both away today at 3 o'clock. Luton at Fulham, Sheffield United at Tottenham. Do you give either of these two sides a chance to get any points on the board today?
Well, if you look at Luton, I actually like the look of Carlton Morris up front for Luton. You know, I think he's probably been their best player. Luton losing their first 3 games. They've got Ryan Giles on the left-hand side, gets his cross into box, and Fulham aren't particularly strong at Craven Cottage at the moment. They won 2 of the last 8 in the Premier League and haven't kept a clean sheet at Craven Cottage for the last 8 games. So there's a little vulnerability there for Fulham. But Pauline has obviously signed his new contract, yes. So that's a massive lift for Fulham and their fans.
Now, West Ham, Manchester City. Can't think of the last time that both Manchester clubs kicked off on a Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Can West Ham do anything about City's 100% record today, do you think?
If you was a team that was ideally placed to test Man City, I think it is West Ham. When the way they play, they'll play on the counter-attack. Again, they've got players in good form. Antonio looks like he's got his legs back from last season. Jared Bowen's in brilliant form, so they could hit Man City on the counter-attack. But Pep Guardiola is unbeaten with all these 14 Premier League games against West Ham. He's won 12 and drawn 2. And in the Premier League history, only Sir Alex Ferguson, obviously where we're opposite his stand, has got a better record against one team. That was against Charlton.
Wow.
Unbeaten in 16.
Very, very impressive so far from Manchester City. We'll be chatting with the Guardian's Jamie Jackson here at Old Trafford in just a moment. Of course, we'll keep you in touch once kickoff gets underway here with all the goals that go in the Premier League and the EFL this afternoon. But in just a moment, Jamie Jackson will join us to talk about the Jadon Sancho affair and much more besides, as there seems to be more happening off the field at Manchester United than good stuff happening on it. We're getting ready for full live commentary of Manchester United against Brighton here on Talksport 2. It's game day exclusive live on Talksport 2 at Old Trafford. Less than half an hour to go before we bring you full commentary of Manchester United against Brighton Hove Albion. Ian Danta here. Perry Groves will be alongside me on commentary. Just to remind you of the team news, 3 changes for Manchester United from the defeat at Arsenal. A debut for Sergio Reguilon at fullback. Rasmus Højlund makes his first start, and a recall for Scott McTominay this afternoon. Wan-Bissaka, Anthony and Martial, the players that drop out. 6 changes for Brighton from their 3-1 win against Newcastle. Out go for Bruggen, Estupinian, Gilmour, Pedro, March and Ferguson. In come Steele, Lamptey, Dahoud, Lallana, Adingra and Welbeck, once of course of Manchester United. And as you just heard there, Jadon Sancho's name has been on everyone's lips this week after his public spat with United boss Erik ten Hag, as many have argued over who was in the wrong, the manager or the player. Joining us here at our commentary position at Old Trafford in the South Stand, it's the Guardian's Jamie Jackson, who's written about Manchester United for many seasons. Jamie, nice to have you with us, fella. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Dan.
Now, this whole Jadon Sancho thing has been, well, depending on who you speak to, been handled brilliantly or handled poorly. How do you reflect on the past 7 days of this story and how it's flowed?
Yeah, I can sort of see both sides to this. I mean, in a nutshell, if Erik ten Hag does not give that explanation after Arsenal, then we're not here, are we, discussing this whole issue. So there is a school of thought which I can see, why it exists, that maybe he wasn't particularly wise saying that. But on the other hand, he is the manager, he is the boss. As I think Martin Keown said then in the clip, it's about also the culture at the club. If the manager feels he needs to get a message out that this is kind of what he believes is correct, that Jadon hadn't trained correctly and therefore he'd been dropped, then that's up to him. And whether people like it or not, he is the boss. That's what he's employed to do, to lead. And so what's very interesting now is, really, I suppose, is where this goes from here. It was interesting, he sort of said to us yesterday that he doesn't know whether he'll play for United again, certainly under him, and that's really the next big issue. He needs to apologise, I'm told if he apologises to Erik ten Hag, then there would be a far greater chance of him being reinstated. But you have to say that, considering he has not done that so far, we're sort of 2 weeks into this now, I don't know, it's just not helping the player. But I do see the other point of view whereby,
is there a culture of players not putting in enough to wear the shirt of Manchester United as a general rule, and Sancho's just one example of that?
Well, I'd like to think it was the way around, that maybe Sancho is one of the few who isn't doing that, because if you look at their season last year, they win a trophy, get to another final and finish third. Considering the mess he walked into, Ten Hag, and basically sorted out, that has to be down to a lot of hard work from everyone pulling in the correct direction. So, I would suggest, if what he's saying correct, I remember Jadon Sancho's questioned his own manager here. If what Erik Ten Hag said is correct, then he seems to be one of the few, if not the only one. I mean, it is an interesting move that he went public with it. I mean, maybe it's because he tried everything else and he's a little bit exasperated with the player.
He handled the Cristiano Ronaldo situation superbly last year, in my opinion, Ten Hag. He also dealt with Marcus Rashford with a slight, problem that he had, and dealt with that well, and Rashford was soon back in the fold, and there was no public falling out, no public spat there. So Ten Hag's already got form for showing he can handle players and get the job done. But if all it's going to take is an apology from Jadon Sancho, that's a worry for me that he's not prepared to do that.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd add is, being very polite and respectful, is Jadon Sancho's hardly pulled up trees for Manchester United since he joined here 3 years ago. I can't remember really, a series of games, let's put it that way, where he's consistently been. Don't have to be a match winner in all those, but he's actually played consistently well and been wow. He has got an X factor, so there is that part of it as well. I mean, the club are fully backing the manager as they have to and should do. And I would say that observing Erik Ten Hag sort of for a season a little bit now, he seems a very smart, intelligent, intuitive sort of manager who can manage different personalities. So I don't think necessarily, and particularly the way he performed yesterday, I don't think he necessarily had a rush of blood at Arsenal, and said something that he later regretted. So if you sort of believe that, it's all calculated, and he has got a strategy. He had a smile on his face yesterday afternoon. He seemed very relaxed, very sort of perky, and as he should be. But that says to me that he's content or at ease with the way he's dealing with this.
You and the other guys that work in this patch and follow both Manchester clubs, of course, but predominantly with Manchester United, you've had stories flying at you from all angles. Off the pitch, we had the protest here when I was here for the Forest game against the Glazers. We've had the Mason Greenwood story. Now we've had the Anthony story. On top of this, the Sancho story. Wow, I mean,
it's never dull.
It's never a dull moment, but that's not good. The trend of stories is not good.
No, and what's interesting is, I suppose, is the timing as well, because there's a sort of bit of a vacuum because of the international break. If there had been games, and say Højlund had made his full debut, as he will do this afternoon, and scored a couple, and they won a couple of games, then maybe some of this stuff would have faded. And so I'm looking at this team sheet today and sort of being optimistic for the fans and the club. I'm looking at Højlund's debut, and it's exciting, right? And from what I saw at Arsenal, it's a very small sample size, but from what I saw at Arsenal, he looks like he might have something that they need, which is raw power, strength. He got amongst the Arsenal back 4 or 5, and it's optimistic in that regard, and it is the on-field stuff that obviously all the fans, particularly, and also the club obviously, want to concentrate on.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Perry Groves a little earlier. Given the fact that he's only 20, it's a lot of pressure to put on a young lad's shoulders to be seen as the great hope for Manchester United centre-forward play.
It is, and it's one of those where if he thrives on it, brilliant, and I hope he does. He only scored 9 Serie A goals last season. It's not a paltry amount, but it's not amazing. But he is only 20, and we can only go on what we saw at Arsenal. I can anyway, and that is promising. But you're right, Dan, because he has to put it together consistently. It's a heck of a lot of pressure. It always is going to be at this place. But at 20 years old, coming in and basically, we need you to sort of fire. I mean, Rashford got 18 Premier League goals last season, which is respectable, but it's not enough elite level. Like Kane got 30, and a struggling Spurs side, and Haaland did whatever he did. That's what you're up against, really. If you want to be sort of challenging City, you have to have a 25-goal Premier League striker, really, I would suggest, and another player backing that up with sort of high teens.
Another player back this afternoon is Scott McTominay, given an opportunity, and Maguire's on the bench, and I think he'll just be happy that no one, maybe no one talks about him much this afternoon. They can concentrate on other things. But McTominay coming back is an interesting move from Ten Hag.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought there is a player there who can play for Manchester United as a sort of defensive midfielder, but he is a little bit ponderous. If you on the ball, his first touch can take a little bit too much time, and being very polite about it. I mean, the facts speak for this. I don't think Erik Ten Hag necessarily fancies him as an A-list player, but he is in. It's a big chance. Whether he'll stay in, I'm not so sure. He may well have gone in the summer. I think he is still up for sale next Some of it's a long way off. You never know what happens in football. And I'm looking at the Wan-Bissaka selection as well. Well, actually, dropping him.
Yes.
That's an interesting one, that, with Dalot going to right back and Reguilon coming, because there was a school of thought that it'd be Wan-Bissaka right back, Dalot left back, and Reguilon would be a sub, basically. So, again, let's see. And against Brighton, well, they're a heck of a team. Great test. United should be winning this game, not because they have a right to, but because they are at home, they need to win. The Manchester United and all the rest of it, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen. It'll be fascinating.
Well, of course, the last team to beat Manchester United here in the league were Brighton in Ten Hag's first game. But
yes,
the Brighton team that's turned up today is wildly different. So, McAllister was in that team, Trossard was in that team, Sanchez was keeping goal. It's a very different Brighton side.
Every time they sell players, they seem to get better.
Yeah, it's really strange, isn't it? And that's what Manchester United need to get back to, because there was a time when that particular phrase applied to Sir Alex Ferguson's team.
Yeah. With regard to that, I do think Erik Ten Hag, given the time that he maybe not allowed as much here, has got something about him. I really do believe that. That season I just reeled off he did last year is impressive. Should be underestimated. But how does he better that, or how does he sort of take him on when, it's very difficult when we talk about some of the other teams, Arsenal, Manchester City, but that's his task. And maybe this sort of 2 weeks we've just been discussing, maybe this will be a sort of a nadir or a sort of defining point in his management. He'll go on from here, and sort of show just what he's made of. But it is very difficult. It's a very difficult job here anyway. So all this background stuff, it needs to fade pretty quickly.
Jamie, thanks as always for your time. Brilliant stuff. Jamie Jackson with us, who's the Manchester writer for The Guardian newspaper. We're about a quarter of an hour away from kickoff, live here on Talksport 2 as part of Game Day Exclusive. It is Manchester United against Brighton Hove Albion just around the corner. Manchester United imperious at home since Brighton beat them on early August last year. They have won 27 and drawn 4 of their matches in all competitions here at the Theatre of Dreams. But it's Brighton here again this afternoon. Can lightning strike twice? Can Brighton take advantage of what's been a difficult week or two for Erik Ten Hag off the field? That's our live commentary here on Talksport 2 this afternoon. I'm Ian Danter. Perry Groves, former Arsenal title winner, is alongside me. Let's get the odds ahead of kick-off with our friends at William Hill. And we're joined by Lee Phelps from William Hill. This is a really enticing game this afternoon, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, I think this is a fascinating match because Brighton, really interesting bet here. In form, brimming with confidence against this beleaguered Manchester United, problems all over the place off the field, hardly convincing on it. Man United are 21-20 and have been attracting money. The draw's 3-1. Brighton 21-10. They were shorter than 2-1 earlier today. Manchester United, they've won 2 games, but you can look at those a bit deeper. They came from 2 down against Forest, and they were under the cosh against Wolves when they were winning 1-0. Brighton have got a great recent record against United, winning the last 3 games in the league by an aggregate score of 7-1. So look, I just think, given their form and the issues at Old Trafford, I think over 2-1 is just too tempting for the away win for Brighton. So for me, it's Brighton to win at Old Trafford.
Brilliant stuff, Lee. Thank you very much. That's Lee Phelps, and that's all thanks to William Hill. Get epic value all season with William Hill. 18 plus, and the website you need is begambleaware.org. Well, even more seats now occupied around Old Trafford as we look around this famous stadium. We're sat in the Bobby Charlton South Stand, about midway up. The dugouts are just down to our left-hand side in front of us. Stretford End to the left, East Stand to the right, and the Brighton fans in the southeast corner to our immediate right. And the Sir Alex Ferguson stand towering over us, that 3-tiered stand now. You can't even see the supporters in the 3rd tier because of the overhang of the metal of the top of the Alex Ferguson stand. So we're about 10 minutes from kick-off, but there's plenty of football around today. I'll keep you in touch with goals that are going in around the country. In the Premier League, there are 3 o'clock kick-offs at Villa, Fulham, Tottenham and West Ham, and EFL action as well today. Don't forget, Liverpool won 3-1 at Wolves live on Talksport, and in the Scottish Premiership, Rangers 2-0 winners at St Johnstone. In the Championship, there's lots of Championship managers taking on former clubs today. Perry Warnock against Rotherham as Huddersfield manager, of course, Neil Warnock. Alex Neil going back to Norwich with Stoke City. Ryan Lowe welcoming Plymouth to Preston. He, of course, was the previous manager at Home Park. Even former Watford skipper John Eustace back in the Vic today, managing my lot, Birmingham. But Preston are the story of the season. Leicester went back top of the table, but they had to go above Preston to do it in winning 4-1 at Southampton last night. Preston have been fantastic.
Yeah, they played really good football, didn't they? It's very, very, very easy on the eye. So Preston had probably been the surprise. And you mentioned Leicester. I don't think that has surprised anybody other than Maresca winning 5 on the spin. Jamie Vardy getting his first goal for a while as well in the first minute last night. And there's a bit of pressure for Michael Carrick, the Middlesbrough manager. He's only got 1 point. No one saw that coming down today. 1 point.
That's right.
In their 5 games.
And
so
they go to Blackburn today.
Yeah, so that's a difficult game for them. And then you've got Bristol City against West Bromwich Albion. John Swift in brilliant form for West Brom. 3 goals in his 5 games. He only had 3 in 45 all of last season.
Yeah.
So there's good individual performances that we've seen in the Championship as well.
We've already seen 3 managerial changes further down the divisions. In League 1 and League 2, we've seen Lee Johnson coming at Fleetwood, Michael Appleton coming at Charlton, and there's been a change at Tranmere as well, with Ian Dawes being sacked and Nigel Adkins coming in. What about the idea of a managerial transfer window? Was it a bit unfair of those guys that they lose their jobs so early in the season?
I think the only problem you have there, Dance, if you had that managerial transfer window, is if a team is in free fall and you can see that the manager has bereft of ideas and he's lost his team and there's no effort there at all, then that means that team can be drifting for that period of time. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not in favour of the managerial transfer, and all you've got to do as a manager is make sure that your recruitment's right, that your tactics are right, and that the players are buying into what you want them to do. So I say you can't put that on the owners, that they have to have a manager whose team aren't performing well.
Well, Michael Appleton's Charlton side, his first match in charge is against Stevenage, who are top of League 1 after winning promotion from League 2 last year. Portsmouth are the only undefeated League 1 side. They travel to Derby County, who are really Jekyll and Hyde, feast or famine under Paul Warden this season at Pride Park. And League 2, well, Notts County won at Salford on Friday night, so they have gone above Gillingham, who host Morecambe this afternoon. Mansfield and Swindon are protecting unbeaten starts, and the Stags are at your lot at Colchester today, Perry.
Yeah, and my lot, they ended Gillingham's unbeaten run as well, didn't they, when Colchester were on a bit of a bad run themselves. Said Mansfield, the only unbeaten team in the EFL. They've won 3 and drawn 4 of their games. And you got the binary team, Gillingham. All their wins this season, 1-0.
Yeah, and I've seen them play some smashing stuff. They scored more than that when they beat Southampton in the EFL Cup. And that's the other side to that Leicester result last night. Southampton again shipping goals hand over foot. I know Russell Martin's trying to impose a certain style of play at Southampton, but they're getting tonked. I mean, they got tonked at Sunderland the week before as well.
Well, the style that Russell Martin wants to implement, your players have to be full of confidence, and especially conceding goals, then that confidence just sort of drains away from the players and they don't make the right angles, they hide. Defensively, Southampton looked very, very poor last night, a lot of individual errors. She says so. Russell Martin's got a lot of work to do.
5 minutes to kick off here at Old Trafford. Some of the Brighton subs have already emerged from the tunnel down to our left and are just going to take their place, like Adam Webster I've just seen walking past us towards the benches. I think they've been switched around the benches here at Old Trafford, haven't they, from Sir Alex's day. They've been put either side of the halfway line. I mean, when you listen to the atmosphere, I'm sure you can hear it wherever and however you listen to Talksport 2 with its DAB. It's still a pretty positive atmosphere around here, Perry. There's, not really a poison. It's probably more just a bit of uncertainty rather than anything more poisonous than that or toxic.
Yeah, well, we said, Dan, at Old Trafford it has become a fortress, hasn't it, under Eric Ten Hag? Last game they lost was against Brighton, the first Premier League game of last season. They lost 2-1 here at Old Trafford. How you said there, since then it's 31 unbeaten, 27 wins and 4 draws, and I think actually that the Old Trafford faithful here will be pleased that they've got Rasmus Højlund playing up front and they've got legs in midfield from Scott McTominay.
Jared Gillett, the Australian referee, leads out the 2 squads from the tunnel away to our left-hand side. It was indeed Brighton who won here by 2 goals to 1 back on August the 7th last season. But Manchester United have not lost since then at the Theatre of Dreams. But when you look at their points return, Manchester United over the past 5 Premier League seasons, Perry, It's a bit paltry because they start today on 6 points. They're opening 5 Premier League points returns for the last 5 seasons: 9, 8, 7, 13 and 9. Certainly not why you'd expect that they'd be, you'd expect at least 10 points on average, wouldn't you, from the Manchester United
from the first 5 games.
Yeah.
Exactly, but as I said before, even on the previous managers from Solskjaer and Ralph Rangnick, Manchester United away from home have been really poor, because I think they have too many players that won't do their defensive duties, whereas at Old Trafford they're normally on the front foot. They have the lion's share of possession, and obviously you're playing in front of 75,000 at Old Trafford, and there's no way in the world that these fans would let you be lazy. So there's 2 different teams. Just looking at Brighton dance, and just watched them in the warm-up and was wondering whether they was to play 3 centre halves or 4 at the back. I just saw them when they was doing their warm-up. It was Veltman, Van Hecke, Dunk and Lamptey were all doing heading practice. Tariq Lamptey was doing a lot of practice with his left foot. So I think they're going to play as a back 4 with Lamptey as the left back, because Andingra was actually, when they do their crossing and shooting with the forwards, he was actually doing his finishing. Well,
he can play anywhere, Simon Adingra, the Ivorian, so we'll see how it actually pans out when things get underway. A lot of live sport on Talksport 2 today. Once we're done here at Old Trafford, we'll be checking in with Mark Wilson and co as the Super League is approaching the climax of the season. Catalan against Leeds from 5 o'clock here on Talksport 2 in the Super League. And if you've never listened to a Super League commentary before, I urge you to try it, because Mark's the best in the business, and it's brilliant commentary on rugby league. And of course they'll be having the grand final here at Old Trafford come the end of October. And then later this evening, Cardiff against Swansea. South Wales Police have allowed it to go on at 7:45 on a Saturday night. Joe Shannon is going to be there with Christian Wellamo, full live commentary straight after the Catalans Leeds game. That's a 7:45 kickoff, and then you've got PGA Live Golf, the Fortinet International in California. Russ Hargreaves will guide you through moving day in the golf. And that's aside from all the other football action we'll bring you over the next few days. But right now our concentration here between myself, Ian Danter and Perry Groves here at Old Trafford is Manchester United against Brighton. A reminder of the lineups: United with Andre Onana in goal, Diogo Dalot, Victor Lindelof, Lisandro Martinez and Sergio Reguilon making his United debut in the back 4. Casemiro and the recalled Scott McTominay defensive midfield. Christian Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford playing behind. Rasmus Højlund making his first full start in United colours. And for Brighton, 4-2-3-1, Jason Steele in goal, Joel Veltman, Jan-Paul Van Hecke, Lewis Duncan, Tariq Lamptey in a 4, Pascal Gross and Mahmoud Dahoud in midfield, Adam Lallana, Simon Adingra and Caro Matona behind Danny Welbeck up front. And a moment of silence to those affected by the tragic earthquakes in Morocco and Libya here at Old Trafford. And our thoughts and best wishes go to all families affected by those tragic events with the floods and earthquakes in Morocco and Libya. It's a full house at Old Trafford. Well, it always is, isn't it? 75,000 expectant spectators, including the Brighton fans in the southeast corner to our right hand side, because they've got a bit of the hex over Manchester United. Brighton, they've won their last 3 games against Manchester United, home and away, including that win here at the start of last season. And Brighton get us underway with Danny Welbeck, the former United striker, rolling the ball back. Brighton in their traditional first choice colours, the blue and white stripes, blue shorts and socks. They're kicking from right to left as we look in the south stand, so they're heading for the Stretford end in the first period. Manchester United, the home side, in their first choice colours, red shirts, white shorts, black socks, heading for the east stand to our right. Lamptey wins the ball off Dalot, and it is indeed, as Perry Groves was saying before kick-off, a 4-2-3-1, but Lamptey playing in an unfamiliar left-back position today. His first Premier League start, Perry, since March.
Yes, it's going to be different difficult for Tariq Lamptey. He said there he's naturally a right back, so he'll play it on this left-hand side. Just had a little confrontation there with Diogo Dalot. Just made sure that he was quick and snappy to the ball. Just looking at Manchester United dance, obviously Højlund will play up front. Bruno Fernandes will probably have that little free roll as a 10. It looks like it will be Casemiro who will be the holding midfield player, and Christian Eriksen and Scott McTominay just in front of him.
Free kick to Manchester United, level with the edge of their own penalty area. Lindelof rolls it back to Andre Onana. We've played a minute on Talksport 2 at Old Trafford. Thanks for your company this Saturday afternoon. We'll keep you in touch with goals elsewhere. Earlier today, Liverpool won by 3-1 at Wolves. Rangers 2-0 winners at St Johnstone in the Scottish Premiership.
They looked quite fit, didn't they, the last 10 minutes, Liverpool?
Funny that.
Not a lot of fatigue, was there?
I think you might be bringing that up on the Sunday session tomorrow on Talksport with Sam Matterface. You little stirrer.
That would be your first question, wouldn't it, to Jurgen Klopp in the press conference? Thought you looked really lively last 10 minutes.
Let's see whether Sam asked it. Manchester United coming forward for the first time this afternoon at 0-0. Dalot feeds the ball infield to Rashford. The ball bounces off his thigh, and that allows Dahoud to get a foot in, but Rashford's won it back, tries to tiptoe through a couple of Brighton shirts, deflects away from him, and strong work on the left-hand side for Manchester United, and they've won it back. A good strong run down the left-hand side from Reguilon, and he's won a corner for Manchester United at the East Stand end, 0-0.
Yeah, really intense, aggressive play there from Reguilon.
They're taking the corner short, but it's not worked out for Manchester United, and Kaoru Mitoma can bring the ball clear for Brighton Hove Albion, and Mitoma's got no real support. He's tackled by Dalot on halfway, goes to ground, snapping challenge from Lamptey. He's really cleaned out Diogo Dalot, who's done about 4 rolls to stay on the pitch. The referee said play on, and it's still 0-0 on Talksport 2.
A few really lively challenges. He said Tariq Lamptey had a crunching challenge in the first minute on Diogo Dalot, and he's actually just followed that up, and I think obviously he was a little bit late, but Dalot, as you said there, Dan, did about 5 forward rolls, and basically what that means is you're not hurt that much.
No, indeed, he's just on the touchline, and Jarrod Gillett's going to have a word with Tariq Lamptey. He was just getting some instructions from Roberto De Zerbi, and a yellow card for Tariq Lamptey. So barely 3 minutes on the watch here at Old Trafford, and we have our first yellow card, and it's gone to the Brighton left back today, Tariq Lamptey. Preston lead Plymouth. First goal of the afternoon in the 3 o'clocks goes in at Deepdale. Dwayne Holmes, former Derby midfielder, makes it Preston 1, Plymouth 0. Preston were top before Leicester won at Southampton last night, live on Talksport 2. So it's a free kick, but Manchester United have given the ball away. It's back with the 2 centre-halves for Brighton. Lewis Dunk, who impressed for England in midweek against Scotland, rolls it back to Jason Steele. Steele with a very calm pass outside of his area to Pascal Gross, and now Joel Veltman will scamper down the right-hand side, the far side of the field from us for Brighton. Tries to work the ball infield to Adingra, but Man United win possession back, and it's with Lisandro Martinez, who just takes the game down to walking pace. Plays it there to Reguilon, has been involved very early on down that left-hand side on his Manchester United debut, Perry Groves.
Yeah, just looking at the role of Christian Eriksen, so he's just over on that left-hand side with Reguilon, but it looks like he's been given the freedom just to drift, see if he can get himself on the ball. So there, Casemiro at the base of the midfield. Man United trying to play at the back with the ball at Onana's feet, and Brighton just going man for man with a high press to stop him playing. 4
minutes gone on Talksport 2. Manchester United 0, Brighton Hove Albion 0. Onana clears right-footed, the United goalkeeper, down the left-hand side. Van Heck wins the header ahead of Rashford, but it still drops for Reguilon. Rashford again, left-hand side, midway point of the Brighton half, and he's got Adingra for company. Just rolls it back to McTominay, who ticks it in field for Casemiro. Tried a little flick down the left-hand side of the area to get Reguilon in behind. Reguilon's found Rashford. Rashford makes a lovely run into the box. Can he pull it back for Højlund? He tried to go for goal himself at the near post, and it was blocked by the feet of Jason Steele, and Brighton clear their lines, 0-0.
Brilliant play from Man United on their left-hand side. That man Reguilon involved again. Just put it out to Marcus Rashford. Just happy feet, just a couple of foot overs like Malcolm Flatley in the river dance, and got himself back on his right foot. Couldn't quite get the right purchase on it in the end. It was a good save from Jason Steele with his right foot at his near post.
Good start from Manchester United, and they've won a free kick as Reguilon's been caught by Simon Adingra. So it's a free kick to Manchester United, midway point of the Brighton half, but way out to the left of centre. About 10 yards in for the touchline on the far side. Swindon 1, Walsall 0 in League 2. Charlie Austin gets the opener for Swindon, starting the day in 5th in League 2. So a couple of United players standing over the free kick, Eriksson and Bruno Fernandes. Brighton holding their line way outside their 18-yard line, almost at the edge of the D, really, where their defensive line is. Sandro Martinez in an offside position, but it's taken short to Fernandes. He floats the ball into the box. Højlund gets his head on it, but still allows it to go over his head, knowing it was going to drop on the roof of the net. Goal kick, Brighton 0-0 on Talksport 2.
Yeah, just Eriksson and Fernandes just trying to change the angle. Eriksson just touching it, Fernandes just drifting it in to the penalty area. A little bit too floated, I think, Dance, wasn't it, from Fernandes. Højlund winning the head up, getting himself underneath it, just goes over Jason Steele's crossbar.
Van Hekke plays the ball out to Veltman, who's all-purpose for Brighton, can play in a number of different positions. Giving the ball away though, Brighton. Bruno Fernandes, centre of the Brighton half, rolls it to his immediate right for Casemiro. Casemiro tried to get Dalot in behind. The ball ricocheted in field, and Bruno Fernandes just tried a pot shot from 25 yards that smacked into the chest of a Brighton player, and it rebounded that far. It went midway inside the Manchester United half of the field. 0-0.
Yeah, I think it was Lewis Dunk making himself nice and big, Dance, and made sure that he had his arms down by his side, so he wasn't in an unnatural position. Just earlier than that, Mitoma did brilliantly, because Dalot looked like he was going to be free on this right hand side. Little through ball attempt from Bruno Fernandes. Mitoma made sure that he went with a run and ended up cutting the ball out.
Good turn on halfway from Marcus Rashford for Manchester United, darting down the far left hand side. Reguilon's there in support. Veltman sticks his foot in, puts it out of play for a Manchester United throw that's taken quickly by Reguilon. Seeing the ball again down the left hand side, swings across in looking for Højlund, and what a calm chest back from Lewis Dunk to his goalkeeper Jason Steele. That's a man playing in complete confidence in his own ability in Lewis Dunk. 0-0.
That's the second time he's hit him in the chest, Dance. When the first one he chested it to the halfway line with a defensive block there, he's just cushioning it back to Jason Steele. Just looking at Rasmus Højlund there, when the ball's coming from Reguilon on that left hand side, you want your centre forward making that darting run across the near post to get across the centre halves, and he just stayed central.
Yeah, Højlund, 72 million quid from Atalanta, made his debut as a substitute against Arsenal. Looked lively. You saw it yourself, Perry, for half an hour. He put himself about pretty well at the Emirates. Here come Brighton with Tariq Lamptey on this left hand side, darting forward. McTominay trying to track the run. Lamptey tries to work the ball in field to Welbeck, goes beyond Lallana, and the other number 14, Eriksson, puts in a lovely pirouette and starts a Manchester United counter. Fernandes feeds Rashford down the left hand side. Højlund waiting for a cross, goes in near post, and it just evades him. Great football from Manchester United, and they've won it back the right hand corner of the box, but Fernandes ends up showing too much of that to Lallana. But a sweeping counter attack, and Rashford almost found Højlund with a cross.
It's aggressive, intense football from Manchester United. They said there it was a brilliant spin from Christian Eriksen, a full 360. He just laid the ball into Fernandes. Brilliant ball outside his right foot, Dance, with it from Fernandes. Released Marcus Rashford. He got it onto his left foot, got himself in the corner of the 18-yard box, whipped it across, and Højlund did make that run across the near post. Couldn't quite get his right foot to it, but Manchester United have started very, very aggressively here at Old Trafford.
But here come Brighton. Simon Adingra down the right hand side. He's got space, two to aim at in the area, pulls it back all the way to the far post. Mitoma brings it down, can't get the shot away, lays it back to Lamptey, back down the left hand side of the area for Lallana. He gives it back to Lamptey. He's going to go for goal and snatches at the shot horribly, and it goes well wide for a Manchester United goal kick. 9 gone on Talksport 2, 0-0.
Well, Lamptey's lamped it there, Dance, but it should have been Mitoma who actually got his shot away, because it was a good break from Brighton down their right hand side from Adingra. He got his head up, just crossed the ball to the far post, and Mitoma took his touch, and he had a chance as it set up to volley it, and decided to cut back inside on his right foot. In the end, the shot got blocked. Goal kick for Manchester United. 0-0
here on Talksport 2. Hibs lead by a goal to 0 at Kilmarnock in the Scottish Premiership. And Manchester United send the ball forward. Eriksson's made a run forward, taking Veltman with him. Veltman trying to protect the ball and win it back. Rashford picks up the seconds and moves infield to the centre of the Brighton half. Options left and right for Rashford, just lays it off back into the centre circle for Lindelof. Gives it back to Rashford, still in the centre of the Brighton half. Again, lovely quick feet from the England star. Good ball out to the left. Reguilon pulls it back to Rashford, takes a touch, fires it goals, and it's blocked by Dunk, who's put his body in the way of the ball several times for Brighton. Flag goes up for offside in the end anyway, but Marcus Rashford looks up for it this afternoon, and Lewis Dunk, his England colleague, is doing all he can to repel him. 0-0.
Dance, Marcus Rashford's feet are so clean you could eat your dinner off them. Honestly, he's had a couple of dancing moves, and he had a pirouette, he's had a foot over, he's dragged it back. He said there, just released it out to Christian Eriksen on the left-hand side, and it come back to Rashford, got it on his right foot. It looked like he was going to bury it in the bottom of Steele's near post, and to be fair again, it's Lewis Dunk who's put his body on the line, just slid in and blocked it with his right foot.
Dunk gives it back to Steele. Gillingham 1, Morecambe 0 in lead 2. That'll probably stay like that, because that's what Gillingham do. George Lapsley with the goal for the Gills. 0-0 here at Old Trafford. Brighton coming forward. Lovely diagonal pass from the goalkeeper Steele to Van Veltman, and now Pascal Gross, who's a defensive midfielder these days for Brighton. He's played all round the midfield and even up front at times, but part of that two-man defensive unit in front of the back four.
Do you want my inane stat of the day?
Oh, I love your inane stats, Perry, you know I do.
Say Gillingham 1-0 up.
Yeah.
Well, they've won 5-1-0 this season, haven't they?
Yeah.
Since Neil Harris took over, February 2022, Gillingham have had 14 1-0 wins, the most.
1-0 to the Gillingham. Spirit of George Graham being evoked.
There's a certain ring to it.
It does, doesn't it? Now here's Højlund for Manchester United at 0-0. Finds his captain Fernandes. Ball ricochets into the path of Eriksen down the inside left channel. Adingra trying to get back at him, and Toe pokes it out of play for a Manchester United throw, level with the Brighton penalty area down that left hand side, with Manchester United attacking the east stand away to our right in this first half. 0-0. Ian Danter and Perry Groves with you on Talksport 2. Exclusive commentary. Reguilon on his debut, good ball into the box, headed clear by Dahu and brought away by Adam Lallana, and only man ahead of him is Kaoru Mitoma in a blue and white striped shirt. But here is the Japanese making Dalot backpedal a little, rolls it infield to Lallana, just couldn't take the ball in his stride, and Martinez could pick it up for Manchester United and bring it clear as Bruno Fernandes fires the ball downfield looking for Rashford, and Lewis Dunk gets his head to the ball, and Jason Steele comes outside of his area in a very calm pass into Lamptey. Would you believe it, Morecambe have equalised at Gillingham. It's 1-1. Michael Mellon equalises at the Priestfield.
That's that stat gone then.
Absolutely blitzed that stat. Never mind, pal.
Only gave me, was it 2.5 minutes?
Yeah. Think of all the work you put into that stat as well. Never mind. 0-0 here at Old Trafford with 13 minutes gone on Talksport 2. Manchester United have really, well, enjoyed the lion's share of the possession and the dangerous chances in this opening period, but Brighton do look menacing on the counter when they get the chance, Perry Groves.
Especially out on this left-hand side. Obviously it's Mitoma up against Dalot. He's had a few 1v1s. He decided to cut inside, or I'd like to see him go on the outside, but at the moment Brighton can't quite get to grips with Manchester United's formation, because I said before, it's Casemiro who is like the deepest midfield player. Eriksen's got the licence to roam. Scott McTominay is normally playing on this right-hand side. Fernandes is the 10. Marcus Rashford has now come over to this right-hand side as well. So it's very fluid from Manchester United, and they're just overloading that midfield area.
So Brighton have been very patient at the moment, and they've rolled the ball back to goalkeeper Jason Steele. Hearts 1, Aberdeen 0 in Scotland in the Premiership. Mahmoud Dahoud, once of Borussia Dortmund, rolls the ball out to this near side of the left, and Lamptey, who's collected the ball just next to the Brighton technical area where Roberto De Zerbi is barking out instructions. It was noticeable that De Zerbi's part of the warm-up routine pre-match for Brighton, and he really keeps a close watch on all his players. Crossfield pass looking for Adingra, good header cleared by Reguilon, but Veltman heads it down trying to get Adingra in behind, but that was just ahead of the Ivorian. And Manchester United all playing around with the ball a bit. Lindelof almost gave it away inside his own box. Him and Onana got in a terrible muddle, but they managed to smuggle the ball clear. 0-0.
Dan, so I've got no dog in the fight here, right? But Lindelof actually made me feel nervous when he got the ball there from Onana, because he hasn't got himself side on. He's got his back to play. He didn't know what was behind him, so then he rolled it back to Onana, and he rolled it too softly. and then it looked like Brighton were going to get the ball back with a high press, and luckily, as Onana played the ball out, he went to go back to Lindelof, missed Lindelof and went into Eriksson. So Onana, obviously we know he likes to play out from the back, but it just looks like that De Zerbi said to his Brighton team, let Onana have the ball, we make sure we get back into our shape, and then we'll go and press. We don't want him bypassing our midfield.
Thoughts of Perry Groves alongside me, Ian Dancer at Old Trafford here on Talksport 2. Manchester United 0, Brighton 0. McTominay tried to release Højlund through the centre, having won the ball just inside the Brighton half, but Højlund went one way and the ball went the other. Fleetwood 0, Oxford 1. Stanley Mills, son of our own Danny Mills, has put Oxford ahead at Highbury. Fleetwood under new management in Lee Johnson, and Wycombe 1, Blackpool 0 in the same division. Sam Vokes, who's just arrived at Wycombe. Now Lamptey for Brighton down the left hand side, rise the challenge of Casemiro but couldn't beat Dalot, and the ball's dropped for Christian Eriksen, who finds Lisandro Martinez, who under pressure from Welbeck hooks the ball clear from inside his own penalty area, brought down brilliantly by Reguilon. What a debut he's having in a Manchester United shirt. Rashford now inside right for the home side, faced up by Lamptey, rolls the ball into the area. Højlund's pulled across to the right. His first touch allowed Van Hecke to win the ball back for Brighton Hove Albion. Now Mitoma just passes the ball to the invisible man and it goes out of play. 0-0 the score.
There's a bit of an experience there from Rasmus Højlund, because when the ball's played into him, Dance, he's got to make sure that he gets his body in between the ball and Lewis Dunk, and he just opened himself up. He was square on, missed the ball completely.
Again, Reguilon is pushing forward down the left hand side, and they tried to slide him in, but Adingra was wise to it and came back from his right sided midfield position for Brighton and put enough into the challenge to put off Reguilon. The ball's rolled through to Steele. 0-0.
We're just coming up to 17.5 minutes played, and even though Man United are playing a back four, Reguilon in this first centre, basically he's been a left wing back, Dance, isn't he? He's been the furthest man forward on that left hand side, and that enables Marcus Rashford just to drift in a little bit.
Queen's Park Rangers 1, Sunderland 0 in the Championship. Kenneth Powell for QPR won their first game in 4 last time out after what's been a difficult start to the season. 0-0 here at Old Trafford if you're just tuning in to Game Day exclusive on Talksport 2. Manchester United keeping possession with Lisandro Martinez inside his own half at the moment. Looks up and plays a ball backwards of square to Lindelof. Still no Varane, who must be getting close to fitness for Manchester United. Harry Maguire amongst the substitutes today for Erik ten Hag. Dunk gets a touch on halfway from a floated pass up from the back by Lindelof. Casemiro, first on ball fired out to the left hand side looking for Rashford, but he's overclubbed it and it's going to be a Brighton throw. What do you think Roberto De Zerbi will have made of these opening 18 minutes from a Brighton point of view, Perry Groves?
Well, he'll be pleased that it's still 0-0, because you have to say it's been sort of relentless pressure, isn't it, from Manchester United. A couple of times Brighton have hit Man United on the counter-attack, where they've got down the right-hand side, and Dingle was a really good cross to Mitoma. They've broke on Mitoma, and Mitoma's final pass has let him down. So De Zerbi will want his team just to settle into the game, but at the moment Manchester United haven't allowed them to do that.
Dunk in possession for Brighton. Coming short is Pascal Gross. Dunk at the edge of his own penalty area, being pressurised by Højlund. Gets the ball back to Steele. Steele fires the ball back into the feet of Gross, who controlled it really well, and finds Veltman out on the right hand side, still inside his own half.
Down to not in fact that is nerves of Steele, isn't it, from Jason Steele there, because he's under immense pressure. He just takes that extra touch. You think he's going to get closed down, and he just pings it into Pascal Gross, who's on the half turn, and Brighton retain possession from a position where they look like they're bang under pressure.
Veltman looking for Welbeck. Welbeck plays the ball out to the right wing. Adingra gets there, first line cross, Lallana dummies, Welbeck fires it in! The former Manchester United man scores at Old Trafford to put Brighton ahead. They've been under pressure for this opening 19 minutes, and then Brighton come down the right. Lovely dummy from Lallana from Adingra's first time cross, and Welbeck smashed it in against his old club. Manchester United 0, Brighton 1.
What a brilliant breakaway goal from Brighton. It started off at Jason Steele, the goalkeeper. Brighton made their way up the right hand side. Ball comes to Adingra, and you're thinking, can you pick out the pass, Dance? Have you got the quality? 100% he has, because he rolls it into Adam Lallana, who makes that break into the box. Lallana dummies it, and it comes to Danny Welbeck, and that's a really cool finish, Dance, because Danny Welbeck just lets it roll across his body, opens his body out with his left foot, he places it beyond Onana. That is such a fantastic team goal, the highest quality from Brighton. Every single decision was the right one, starting from Jason Steele. Then 7 passes later, it ends up in the back of Manchester United's net. Fantastic goal from Brighton. Excellent play from Danny Welbeck. Brighton go 1-0 up against the run of play.
They're at it again. Brighton Hove Albion against Manchester United, and this time it's the law of the X. Danny Welbeck made nearly 150 appearances for Manchester United. Now he's back here as one of the elder statesmen of Brighton Hove Albion. 32 years of age now, Danny, and he's just given the Seagulls the lead. And a rolling ball meant that Manchester United couldn't take the quick free kick they wanted to. MK Dons 0, Stockport County 1. Louis Barry for Stockport, that's down in League 2. Huddersfield lead Rotherham by a goal to nil in the Championship. Neil Warnock against one of his old sides, and Josh Corrimer has given Huddersfield the lead at the John Smiths. You're up to date on Talksport 2, where you're listening to Manchester United 0, Brighton 1 on Talksport 2 with Now. Don't forget that with Now you can stream all the Sky Sports action, like Newcastle versus Brentford, live today for £11.99, no contract. Search Now Sports for all the deets. Perry Groves.
Dan, we said about Jason still had nerves of steel, and that's where the Brighton goal started from, wasn't it? When he pinged it into Pascal Gross, and Brighton kept position. Pascal Gross was involved.
Crossing for the left-hand side for United, and dunks there again with McTominay, who was furthest forward, but it has gone behind for a Manchester United corner at the East Stand end. 1-0 Brighton.
Yeah, good defensive header from Lewis Dunk. Just make sure that he holds his position, centre of the 6-yard box, heads the ball out. Fernandes will just go over on that left-hand side for Man United and whip it in with his right foot.
So Fernandes to take the corner where the Sir Alex Ferguson stand meets the East Stand to our right hand side. Plays it short to the left hand corner of the box, and Rashford, he gives it back to Fernandes, plays a ball into the near post, and Welbeck's back there defending to head it clear back out to Fernandes, and then Fernandes and Eriksson getting a bit of a muddle, and the ball just trickles behind for a goal kick to Brighton, who lead by a goal to nil at the midway point of the first half here on Talksport 2. Lincoln 0, Carlisle 1 in League 1. Carlisle, who have only got one league win to their name so far. Luke Blanche has given them the lead. Yellow card for Jan-Paul van Hekke for time wasting from Jared Gillett. Puts his hands on top of his head. He can't believe that that's been given against him. Just giving you other scorelines that are coming. Reading 0, Bolton 1. Dion Charles for Bolton. More points deducted for Reading this week for failing to comply with financial issues. Barnsley 1, Burton 0 elsewhere in League 1. Devante Cole gets another one. That's 7 for the season for Devante Cole. And Tranmere, under new management of Nigel Adkins, I nearly said Nigel Adderley then, not quite Nigel. Crawley 0, Tranmere 1, Charlie Jolly. Now here come Brighton again. They're a goal up, and Adingra, who's supplied the cross for the first in possession down the right hand side, being jockeyed by Lisandro Martinez. So he passes infield for Pascal Gross. Gross finds Welbeck. Dahoud fires the ball out, intending to find Mitoma on the left, but Manchester United get it clear, but only temporarily, and it's tidied up by Dunk and back to his goalkeeper Jason Steele. 1-0 to Brighton. Wrexham lead Grimsby by a similar score on Ollie Palmer at the racecourse ground, makes it Wrexham 1, Grimsby 0.
You have to say, Dance, the Brighton goal was against the run of play.
Oh, totally.
Because Manchester United were on the front foot, but it was just pure quality from Brighton. That's the 16th away game they've scored on the trot in the Premier League. I think that equals their club record.
I think they've scored in 32 of their last 33 Premier League matches. Only a game at Fulham back in February was the one blot on their copybook. And they've scored again, and they lead at Old Trafford. But here come Manchester United. Dallow down the right hand side, 10 yards from the dead ball line, skips past Mitoma, pulls it back to Rashford, shot into a crowd of Brighton bodies, and one of them blocked it away. Rashford must have felt, oh, this is going on target, but it was blocked around 12 yards out by, I think, Van Hekke. 1-0 Brighton.
Yeah, it's brilliant play on the right hand side from Dallow. Just manipulates the ball, gives a see you later to Mitoma, goes inside, goes outside, just picks out Marcus Rashford. And in the end, Dance, I think it was a combination of Van Hekke and Dahoud who actually got like the block on a sort of mini two-man wall. Just looking at Manchester United, they've actually brought Marcus Rashford in off that left-hand side, so basically they're playing 2 up front, just to play a little bit closer to Rasmus Højlund.
Dalot finds Rashford, chests the ball down, 30 yards out. Welbeck comes to close him down. Rashford tries to shoot at goal again from the edge of the D. It's blocked once more by Van Hecke. Eriksson retrieves the loose ball. Reguilon cuts in from the left-hand side. Rashford on the ball once more, lays it off to Lindelof. Everybody back in the defensive third of Brighton in either red or blue and white shirts. Now Martinez has to track back to the halfway line under pressure from Lallana. Gillingham have had to score 2 goals for the first time in a while. They've done it 2-1 against Morecambe. Conor Mahoney at the Priestfield Stadium.
Yeah,
Casemiro, lovely ball, finds Fernandes for Manchester United. Flicks it infield to Rashford, lets the ball run across to Eriksson at the edge of the area, left-hand side. Tried to pull it back, but couldn't find a red shirt, and it was cleared away by Veltman. And then Casemiro and Lindelof getting a bit of a muddle. And the Brighton goal scorer, Danny Welbeck, retrieves possession for the Seagulls. Perry Groves.
Yeah, Eriksson just didn't pick out the right pass. It's a brilliant over from Marcus Rashford, who's looked really sharp in his first 27 minutes. And Eriksson, all he should do is just whip the ball across the 6-yard box with his left foot, tries to play it back to Marcus Rashford. In the end, Van Hecke just cuts it out. Brighton a bit cute dance when they're out of position. They basically go into a 4-4-1-1, and all they do, obviously they got the 2 blocks of 4, but they let Adam Lallana, he just drifts in around the centre circle, and he becomes like the spare player, and then obviously they hope to play off him and he can get it into Danny Welbeck.
1-0 to Brighton here at Old Trafford on Talksport 2. 2-0 to Oxford at Fleetwood Town. Billy Bodin with a second for Oxford, and Preston have doubled their lead against Plymouth in the Championship. Liam Miller makes it Preston 2, Plymouth 0. Balls at the back for Brighton with Lewis Dunk, who just fires it back first time to his keeper Jason Steele. Højlund comes to close down the space, and again ball fired along the deck at pace by Jason Steele, finds its intended target in Joel Veltman, who gives it back to Steele, and he spots Dunk calling for it, left hand corner of the penalty area. Dunk will now just trot forward away from his own penalty box, rolls his foot on the ball as Fernandes comes to close him down, plays it infield to Pascal Gross, who's splitting the 2 centre halves for the moment. Now Van Hecke will carry the ball unopposed over halfway, nobody closing him down, and he plays it out to the right wing for Joel Veltman. Veltman keeps the ball in play, 10 yards from the dead ball line. Van Hecke wants it back, midway point of the half, and he'll just tuck it infield to Dahoud, and then back to halfway, and Brighton keep possession, and they lead by a goal to 0.
Dance, that is far too easy from Man United's point of view to let Brighton get out on their right hand side, because Marcus Rashford, say, who's playing as basically a twin striker, he just jogs in centrally to get a rest, and then Van Hecke just pulls off him to his left hand side and ends up rolling down in that right hand channel.
Space for Dahoud in the centre circle. He tried to float the ball over the top to get Lallana in behind, but Lallana was caught on his heels and the ball just bounced comfortably through to Andre Onana. Manchester United 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 1 on Talksport 2. 28 minutes played at Old Trafford. MK Dons equalise against Stockport. Mo Issa, who's in a bit of a goal scoring competition with his kid brother Abbo, and he's equalised for MK Dons against Stockport. That's 1-1. 1-0 here to Brighton, and the goal scorer, former Manchester United striker Danny Welbeck.
Issa, you said, scored with interest there.
Oh, why didn't I see that coming? Ball's back with Jason Steele once again, wearing all orange as the Brighton goalkeeper today. Short pass for Dahoud, just got away with it. There were 3 United players in and around it, but again they found the route to play confidently and comfortably out of the back, Brighton and Hove Albion.
The reason being, Dance, it's a half-hearted press, isn't it, for Manchester United? They're not going with any conviction. They're sort of 3/4 pace, and that enables Brighton just to play round them.
And here come Brighton with Simon Adingra offside as Veltman tried to play him in down the right-hand side of the United box. Roberto De Zerbi just gesticulating down beneath us, wanting a few things sorted out, tactically speaking. But he must be absolutely delighted. They were under the cosh for the first quarter of the game, and then they take the lead through Danny Welbeck. We've played half an hour here at Old Trafford, and that is the scoreline. Manchester United 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. Gross forced to go back into his own half, and Van Hecke will pick up the ball ahead of his goalkeeper Jason Steele. Veltman faced up by Bruno Fernandes in the right back position for Brighton. gives it back to Van Hecke, and then Pascal Gross, ice in his veins as he just trickles past a couple of attackers for Manchester United. Lamptey works it up to halfway. United win it back though. Here's Casemiro. Oh, but before he could release the pass, he had the ball taken off his toe by Danny Welbeck. Mitoma will stride forward for Brighton, carrying the ball into the Manchester United half. Adingra calling for it right hand side. Will he get it from Lallana? Not quite. Brilliant challenge from Reguilon, and then an attempted through ball from Bruno Fernandes to set Rashford away is intercepted by Veltman, but it is a Manchester United throw. 1-0 Brighton on Talksport 2.
Yeah, just Mitoma again, sloppy with his final ball. Just tries to roll it into Adam Lallana, overhits it, gives the ball away. It's really interesting.
As Casemiro passes the ball forward and wins by Brighton. 1-0 their lead. Sorry, Perry.
From Brighton's point of view, when Manchester United are trying to play at the back with Lallana, Brighton basically go man for man. And we had an instance there where Christian Eriksen was playing on Man United's left. Veltman just followed him all the way into the centre circle, and Pascal Gross found himself at right back. So they're just going man for man, and at the moment Manchester United aren't comfortable enough getting themselves out of the press.
Danny Welbeck has the ball just over the halfway line, gives it back to Dahoud. 1-0 here to Brighton. Colchester 1, Mansfield 0. Joseph Taylor, it's offside. Welbeck running through the centre of the half, gets to the edge of the area and lets fly at the edge of the D. It was always rising over the bar, and Onana knew it. Goal kick to Manchester United, stays 1-0 to Brighton Hove Albion.
Yeah, it's unlucky from Danny Welbeck, just dropping a little bit deeper. Lindelof again didn't know whether to follow him all the way in. He lets Danny Welbeck turn, just skips inside. Lindelof gets it onto his right foot. He's trying to bend it inside Onana's top left-hand post, but just got underneath it and ended up flying over the crossbar.
This is the only game of the 3 o'clocks in the Premier League that has a goal in it. All the others at Villa, Fulham, Tottenham and West Ham are currently goalless. 1-0 to Brighton and Hove Albion here at Old Trafford. What have you spotted, Perry?
Well, again, it's like Veltman, who's playing as the right back. Christian Eriksen's got that free roll. Veltman just follows him all the way in.
Yeah.
Brighton then have 3 at the back, where Lamptey just goes a bit closer to Lewis Dunk. You've got Van Hecke over on that right-hand side, and Dingra then comes back into that right-back position.
Onana passes out to Bruno Fernandes. We've played 32 minutes on Talksport 2. That forward pass is comfortably dealt with by Lewis Dunk. His ball back into the United half, though, is won by Casemiro. What a ball! Out to Rashford on the far left-hand side. Reguilon on the overlap. Rashford's cutting infield, goes for goal, and it deflects onto the angle of post and bar, and behind for a corner kick. There's a player from each side gone down inside the area who've clashed as Rashford let that shot go, and it deflected off a Brighton leg and just caught the angle of post and bar with steel beaten. It is, though, a Manchester United corner, and Brighton still lead by 1-0 on Talksport 2.
Brilliant crossfield pass from Casemiro on the half volley of his right foot. Just puts out to Marcus Rashford on the left-hand side. He cuts inside Van Hecke onto his right foot, and it's Veltman make himself nice and big. It was basically a long barrier dance, wasn't it? You normally see that shape behind a defensive wall, and I think he's just hit off his left-hand ankle, which just turned. Then Jason still committed himself, ended up going off the angle of the crossbar on the post.
Yeah, it was an accidental collision between Veltman and Rashford, and they've just had a little hug before the corner can be taken. Again, it's where the Sir Alex Ferguson stand meets the East stand. Fernandes, right-footed in swinger, headed out inside the 6-yard box by Van Hecke. Mitoma trying to bring it further clear, and United pass the ball back to the halfway line. Aston Villa 1, Crystal Palace 0. Moussa Diaby for Aston Villa. Blackburn 1, Middlesbrough 0. Middlesbrough's travails continue. Sammy Smodics for Blackburn, and AFC Wimbledon lead Crewe by 1-0 in League 2. Josh Nerfield for the Dons. Here's Casemiro for Manchester United, trailing Brighton by 1-0 here. Eriksen, centre of the Brighton half, just lays the ball off behind him to Lisandro Martinez, standing in the centre circle. Wrexham 2, Grimsby 0. Will Boyle up from the back has scored the second for Wrexham. Ball still on the halfway line with Manchester United as Lindelof and Martinez exchange passes. Martinez looks up, clips the long ball downfield. McTominay made a run through the middle, but Van Hecke dealt with the through ball comfortably enough, and then Adingra hooks the ball down for Lallana, and then Gross fires the ball up into the air looking for Mitoma to win the bits and pieces, and Lallana went down under pressure from Casemiro, thought he was fouled, and indeed he was, says Jarrod Gillett, after a moment of consideration by the Australian referee. 1-0 Brighton.
Yeah, Lallana did really well. This is Casemiro playing at the base of the midfield, just took a touch, and Lallana just picked his pocket, and I don't know why. Probably Jarrod Gillett was waiting to see if Brighton could regain possession. He thought it might come out to Mitoma, just took his time, and quite rightly ended up giving the free kick.
Earlier today, Liverpool won 3-1 at Wolves. Rangers won 2-0 at St Johnstone. That'll put Ali McCoist in a happy mood when he looks after breakfast on Talksport on Monday morning with Andy Townsend. Always a great way to wake up in the morning. Get Talksport breakfast on from 6 a.m. Lots of great guests joining the boys before White and Jordan with their show at 10 a.m. And Martin O'Neill will be alongside White and Jordan from 10 a.m. on Monday morning. Now Mitoma for Brighton wins a throw. As he know, it stayed in play. It almost rolled out of play. Everyone stopped apart from Diogo Dalot, and then a foul on Højlund gives Manchester United a free kick, which they've taken quickly, trying to release Marcus Rashford. Steele comes outside of his own penalty area, keeps it in play and fires it downfield. Didn't just hoof it into no man's land, put it up to the halfway line. Oh, here's a big goal. West Ham 1, Manchester City 0. James Ward-Prowse. I wonder if that's a free kick. But that has put the cat amongst the pigeons. So both Manchester clubs are behind by a goal to nil. City 1-0 down at West Ham. United 1-0 down here. Live on Talksport 2 at Old Trafford to Brighton Hove Albion.
I think one of the signings of the transfer window, James Ward-Prowse.
I'm amazed that West Ham seem to be the only club that were genuinely interested in him.
That's him involved in a goal in his last 6 games. 3 goals, 4 assists.
Couple of quick goals at the London Road. Peterborough 1, Leyton Orient 1, Forest Green 0, Doncaster 1, Harrison Biggins, and Stevenage 1, Charlton 0. The leaders of League One ahead through Jamie Reid. Back here at Old Trafford, we've got 8 minutes to half time, plus whatever Jared Gillett wants to add on for injury time at the end of the first period. Brighton a goal up and in possession with Simon Adingra. And even though they're 1-0 up, Roberto De Zerbi's like a jumping jack just down beneath us. Not happy with, I think, the slow tempo of Brighton's build-up, Perry Groves.
Exactly. I think he wants them to take like 1 and 2 touch. Even then, when Pascal Groves is on the ball, Brighton have 6 players in front of the ball. Normally, you maybe have 2 or 3 at the most when you're away from home at Old Trafford. And all they do, they just keep asking you questions all the time.
Well, it's currently Manchester United 0, Brighton 1. For the latest odds, you can head to William Hill, the official betting partner of Talksport 2, Eden, our Premier League coverage. I know. Well, right now you can get Manchester United to win from this position at 11-5. Brighton to win, they are 1-0 up. To win the game, Brighton are 11-10 at this point, and the draw is priced at 13-5. That's all thanks to William Hill. Get epic value all season with William Hill. 18+, begambleaware.org is the website. Brighton in possession with Gross. Lovely ball into the centre circle. Welbeck had space to collect and size up his next move. Works it back to the 2 centre-halves, Van Hecke and then Dunk. Dunk looks early for Mitoma, who's peeled his run. Onside down the left-hand side of the area. Not much for company. Plays it across the face of goal and it's cleared away by Reguilon. Kept in play on this near side by Tariq Lamptey for Brighton and Hove Albion. He rolls it back 10 yards or so for Lewis Dunk. Dunk will go back into his own half for Van Hecke and then turn round the corner very calmly by Pascal Gross for Joel Veltman. 1-0 Brighton lead.
Marcus Rashford has just waved his arms in frustration because he's come to close the ball down. He's looked round at his midfielder 15-20 yards away from him. He's quite right. Man United should be a little bit further up the pitch. Just earlier, brilliant ball from Lewis Dunk, just put it into the left-hand channel for Mitoma outside of his right foot. He's tried to whip it along the 6-yard box. Brilliant defensive play from Martinez because he made sure that he just occupied that space.
But that's the sort of ball that is the sort of thing that delighted Roberto De Zerbi when he discovered what Lewis Dunk could do with the ball. Now here come Brighton again. It's Adingra down the right-hand side into the area, overruns it and allows Reguilon just to ease the ball off him and bring it clear for Manchester United. Brighton still lead 1-0. Here comes McTominay over the halfway line. Good pace from the Scot. Rashford further on his outside. Only Højlund in the area at the moment. Rashford gets down the left-hand side of the box. More step-overs. Tries to pull it back. He finds Højlund, who equalises! On his first start, Rasmus Højlund starts to repay the £72 million invested in him by Manchester United, and he brings the home side level 5 minutes from the break. But it's all thanks to the brilliant approach play and quick feet of Marcus Rashford. Put it on a plate
for Højlund, 5 yards out, and he couldn't miss. Manchester United won, Brighton Hove Albion won.
Dance, it was happy feet from both of Manchester United centre forwards. Just build up, play down. Manchester United left hand side, just releasing Marcus Rashford. He's 1v1 with Van Hecker. Goes to go inside, little foot over, goes on the outside, gets the byline. Van Hecker.
Oh no, is the ball out of play?
The ball is out of play.
Well, VAR will take a look at whether the ball had crossed the dead ball line completely before. I think it might still just be a oh no,
no, it's out of play, Dance.
It could well be ruled out, this, because they're checking to see whether, as Rashford crossed the ball with his left foot, was the ball out of play. It's marginal. It is so close. Now that the angle we're looking at suggests that the whole ball is indeed clear of the markings and therefore would not be given.
Well, the angle we've looked at, you can actually see the grass between the ball and the touchline. And it was brilliant play. Actually, to be fair to Van Hecker, he got up straight away and said to Jared Gillett that the ball was out of play.
They're still looking at the freeze frame. And this may well take a little while for VAR to sort out back at Stockley Park. Jared Gillett waits, finger in his ear. Chris Kavanagh is the VAR this afternoon down at Stockley Park, and we wait the decision. But it looks like the ball's out of play, and this is taking an eternity, and VAR does indeed rule the goal out, and it's the Brighton fans you can now hear cheering. Forget what I said about Højlund getting a goal on his first start. It's been ruled out. VAR means it's still Manchester United 0, Brighton 1.
It was brilliant play from both Man United centre forwards. Rashford putting Van Hecker on the deck. Unfortunately, Man United, the ball's rolled out of play, but it was really quick feet from Rasmus Højlund as well, because he let the ball roll across his body, took a touch, and then just rolled it down to Jason Seal's left-hand side. Why did that? I don't understand why that took so long, because the angle that we were given, you could actually see the grass, couldn't you, between the touchline and the ball.
Maybe we'll find out one of these days. Maybe the next time Howard Webb's on the telly, we'll find out. Now Mitoma trying to dispossess Lindelof, who stayed on the ground and did brilliantly to retrieve possession for Manchester United. So Brighton still lead by a goal to 0, but we're in the last 2 minutes of normal time in this first half on Talksport 2. McTominay finds Bruno Fernandes, right hand side. Thought about an early cross from deep, but rolls it back to Lindelof. Eriksson now picks the ball up, centre of the Brighton half. Rashford then lays it back to Lisandro Martinez. AFC Wimbledon 2-0 up against Crewe Alexandra. James Tilley, who's in excellent goal scoring form for AFC Wimbledon this season, and they lead 2-0 at Plough Lane. Now here is Bruno Fernandes for Manchester United, desperate to try and get a legitimate goal before half time. They thought they had one, but as Van Hecker hit the decker, as you might say, Perry Groves, I'm beating you to that. Rashford couldn't cross the ball from in play, but there's still plenty of encouragement. They might be behind here, Eric Ten Hag's men, Perry Groves, but there's plenty of encouragement they can take from what they've seen in the first half, the way they play, the players have performed.
Manchester United have been very good in possession. Marcus Rashford looked really sharp. You want to get a bit more out of Rasmus Højlund. Regulon's looked good down that left-hand side. They say there they've been a bit unlucky with the VAR call.
We're going into 3 minutes of minimum added time. We're in the last minute of normal time. Here comes Fernandes, crossing the ball into the area. Dunk has the time to chest the ball down, and Lallana then releases Mitoma. His first touch is heavy, and it allows Lindelof to slide in just inside the United half to win it back. But Lamptey goes all the way back to his goalkeeper. He's been pressurised by Højlund, but again, Steele acts as though there's no player anywhere near him in a red shirt and finds a teammate. Here's Van Hecker, fires the ball up to Adingra. Great close control by the Ivorian on the far side, and then it's rolled back by Veltman to Van Hecker. We're into that 3 minutes of added time. Norwich 1, Stoke 0 in the Championship. Alex Neil taking his Stoke side back to his old club, but they're behind. Jack Stacey with the goal for Norwich. And I'll be at Carrow Road on Wednesday night for a great Championship game in prospect. Live on Talksport 2, Norwich against Leicester. whilst on Talksport. How about this? Bayern Munich against Manchester United in the Champions League. Great choice of listing for you on Wednesday night across the Talksport network. Brighton 1-0 up and trying to come forward with Simon Adingra, but he's dispossessed by Lisandro Martinez. Reguilon finds Eriksen inside his own half, has to lay it off for Lindelof under pressure. Lindelof with a diagonal ball looking for Rashford. Picks the ball up, the flag hasn't gone up against Rashford's got into the area, up against Van Hecke. Right-footed shot, flashed it wide. The flag still doesn't go up, even though play is now dead. It's a goal kick, and Van Hecke looks across at the assistant on this near side and said, "Where's the flag, governor?" But it didn't go up, but Rashford didn't hit the target anyway. 1-0 Brighton.
Yeah, he looks about a half yard offside, Dance. He's right in front of us, and we've got the lines, haven't we, where you get different shades of grass, and he was, say, half a yard offside, but obviously Brighton had to play on, and Rashford has been really, really sharp in this first half. He's thriving and playing in that, more central position next to Rasmus Højlund, but he just drifts out to that left-hand side, comes in on his right foot, tries to bend it in James Steele's top left-hand corner, gets himself underneath it. But this has been an absolutely exhilarating first half of football, Dance. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to be here. Both teams trying to win the game. Man United have been on the front foot, they've been the dominant force, but Brighton always looking dangerous on the counter-attack.
I quite agree, it's been fantastic to bring you this game, and plenty more to come. We're in the second minute of a minimum 3 that have been added on by Jared Gillett at the end of this first half. Brighton then, 1 goal up, will want to carry that into the half-time break. Van Hecke rolls the ball infield to the experienced Lallana. Ball given away. A chance now for Højlund to burst through. Well, that's an important touch from Mahmoud Dahoud to dispossess him. Højlund went down, and now the referee blows the whistle and says that's offside anyway against Højlund before Dahoud could snap back and win possession. So Brighton get a free kick 25 yards from their own goal. 1-0 they lead.
Yeah. You could actually hear Dahoud's sharp intake of breath from here, dancing, because he got his pocket picked, and then as the ball just ricocheted, pings off of Scott McTominay.
Yeah, that would have been a free kick, no doubt, because Dahoud got none of the ball as he barged into the back of Rasmus Højlund, but the first offence was the offside against Højlund, and then there's a trip on Dahoud by Bruno Fernandes, and a yellow card for Bruno Fernandes. And he joins Lamptey in the referee's notebook as we approach half-time here on Talksport 2. 1-0 Brighton.
Yeah, we're all talking about Bruno. Just a little bit of frustration there from Fernandes. Dahoud just opened his body out, and just Bruno Fernandes tackling from behind. In the modern game, he's got no intention of playing the ball whatsoever. Just clatters into the back of Dahoud's calves, giving Jared Gillett absolutely no option but to
free kick taken quickly, and Dunk tried to find Welbeck down the area, but he just couldn't control it. He was in a bit of space, but just couldn't control the ball at the left-hand corner. And the referee's whistle blows for half-time, and a mixed reception around Old Trafford. The boos aren't too vociferous, because Manchester United fans know that their team have been more than well in this first half. Some scintillating football at times from Erik ten Hag's men, notably from Marcus Rashford, who's been fleet of foot all afternoon. But the important goal went Brighton Hove Albion's way midway through the half as they attacked down the right-hand side. It was actually started by Brighton goalkeeper Jason Steele, passing the ball out from his own 18-yard box to Pascal Gross. It eventually worked its way out to Simon Adingra down the right-hand side, and his first-time ball into the box, dummied by Lallana, allowing former Manchester United striker Danny Welbeck to smack the ball home with his left foot. Rasmus Højlund thought he had his first United goal with an equaliser, which was ruled out by VAR, as Marcus Rashford's cross had only been struck once the ball had gone out of play over the dead ball line. But a scintillating first half at Old Trafford. But it is Perry Groves, Manchester United 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 1.
As you said, Dance, it's been absolutely electrifying. It's been non-stop. The pace of the game, the intensity from both teams has been excellent. You have to say Manchester United, I thought, were very, very good, Dance, and that first 25 minutes on the front foot. Reguilon getting himself involved on the left-hand side. Marcus Rashford playing more as a centre forward next to Rasmus Højlund, and had a couple of chances. Marcus Rashford dangerous coming in on that left-hand side onto his right foot. Got the ball onto his preferred right foot and quite couldn't get the purchase properly, could he, when Jason Steele just saved it with his right foot. And then Brighton eased themselves back into the game, and it was a breakaway goal of the highest quality, because Jason Steele, we've said he has nerves of steel, because he gets closed down, whether it's Rashford, whether it's Højlund. He actually waits, Dan. We said before, it's like a cat playing with a little ball of string. You know, when you tease, he teases the centre forwards in to come and try and close him down. Then he either pings it to his centre halves, Van Hecke or Dunk.
It's like trying to get a stick off my dog.
Exactly that, yeah. Just a little bit of cat and mouse going on, or so cat and dog going on, or mouse and dog, whichever way you look at it.
Mouse and dog.
So but for the goal for Brighton, he starts at Jason Steele, he then pings it into Pascal Gross, who gets on the turn, then he gets out onto the right hand side into Van Hecke, gets it back, then rolls it into Danny Welbeck, who he releases Adingra on that right hand side, and then you're thinking, can you pick the right pass? And Lallana gets himself into the penalty area, and he's got fantastic awareness, because he lets it run over, doesn't he, underneath his legs. And then Danny Welbeck opens his body out, and just with his left foot, just a real calm finish past Onana, give himself absolutely no chance. That goal just sums up the way that Brighton Hove Albion want to play. But Manchester United have still been, even though they're 1-0 down, Manchester United, I thought, were very good in this first half.
More from Perry Groves as we continue through the afternoon. The half-time score here then is Manchester United 0, Brighton Hove Albion 1. Let's look ahead to tonight's Premier League action with Now Sports. The applause you hear around us at Old Trafford is for the re-emergence of Manchester United from the tunnel down to our left. The Brighton players also coming out for the start of the second half. A reminder, if you're just tuning in, the half-time score here, Manchester United 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. Brighton halfway towards a fourth successive win against Manchester United in the Premier League, and it really would bring a fairly horrible fortnight to the worst possible end for Erik ten Hag, Perry Groves, if it stays like this.
Yes, a certain amount of irony at the moment as well, because the last game that Manchester United lost here at Old Trafford was the first game of the Premier League season last season, wasn't it?
Well, Manchester City have taken just a few seconds to equalise at the start of the second half at West Ham. I think that's a first goal for Manchester City for Jeremy Doku, their deadline day signing, the Belgium international. Makes it 1-1 at the London Stadium. And we're ready for the start of the second half. No changes for either Erik ten Hag or Roberto De Zerbi. I'll run you through the lineups in a minute, but Manchester United in red shirts, white shorts, black socks are attacking the Stretford end away to our left in this second half. We're sat halfway up the Bobby Charlton stand, the south stand. Brighton in their blue and white striped shirts, blue shorts and socks. They're kicking from left to right towards the east stand end, and of course the Brighton fans are in the southeast corner to our right, enjoying their afternoon so far. And the Manchester United lineup: Onana in goal, Dalot, Lindelof, Martinez, Reguilon, Casemiro, McTominay, Eriksen, Fernandes, Rashford and Højlund. Brighton just winning the header in their own defensive third with Van Hecke, passed in field by Adingra. I'll run you through the Brighton lineup in a minute, because Adingra is coming forward, but that's well won by Lisandro Martinez. Brighton, they'll win it back. Welbeck, the goal scorer, drifts in field from this near touchline. He's still going into the area, Welbeck, and then Lisandro Martinez gets a foot in and gets it half clear. McTominay will tidy up. The Brighton lineup: Steele in goal, Veltman, Van Hecke, Dunk and Lamptey across the back, and then in midfield, Gross, Dahu, Lallana, Adingra and Mitoma behind Welbeck in attack. Wickham have a second at home to Blackpool. Brandon Hanlon makes it Wickham 2, Blackpool 0. And I've got Perry Groves alongside me for the afternoon here at Old Trafford.
Just looking at Manchester United again, Dance, and Brighton, the way you said they've lined up. Manchester United, we saw that diamond in midfield with Casemiro at the base of the diamond and Fernandes obviously at the top of it. When Eriksen comes in from Manchester United's left-hand side, essentially, Veltman, we see here again, he just follows him all the way in. It doesn't matter whether he goes over to Manchester United's right-hand side. Veltman just goes in, and then Van Hecke just comes out and picks up Marcus Rashford, who drifts out to the left. So there's loads of intriguing little tactical battles going on.
Yeah, we're not really seeing anything different tactically from what we saw towards the end of the first half, though, are we?
No, but it's just the way that De Zerbi has actually said, right, we've got to negate the threat, obviously, of Christian Eriksen.
Mitoma coming down the Brighton left, although just has the ball taken off his toe as he got to the left-hand corner of the box. And here come Manchester United. Rashford has been superb all afternoon. He's got Van Hecke backpedaling into the area. Rashford, more step-overs, angles tightening, pulls the ball across the face of goal. This time it doesn't find a red shirt, and instead Dahoud can whack the ball clear, and he finds Mitoma. Again, really hard lines on Marcus Rashford. It was brilliant in the build-up play. And now Mitoma's released Danny Welbeck down the left-hand side for Brighton. He's got Lindelof backpedaling. He goes into the area. He lays it off to Pascal Gross 30 yards out. Feints to shoot on his left. Checks onto his right. Goes for goal. And it's a very comfortable save for Andre Onana. 1-0 Brighton.
I think Danny Welbeck and Marcus Rashford are having a foot over off, because every time it comes into them...
The ball's just given away for Lewis Dunk to pick it off for Brighton. Here's Mitoma. Plays the ball into the area, brilliant run from Adingra, but out comes Onana and makes a smart save to deny Simon Adingra, although the offside flag I think had gone up against the Brighton 24.
Yeah, I think Adingra just went a little bit too quick, but that was a trademark outside the right foot from Matone, wasn't it, from that left-hand side.
Now Højlund looking to scrap for possession with Lewis Dunk, but Van Hecke gets across and the ricochet favours Brighton. The steal comes out and plunges on top of the ball around the penalty spot. Højlund won the first challenge against the first centre-half, but hadn't reckoned with the other one. Van Hecke coming in to win possession. 1-0 Brighton.
Yeah, Højlund just needs to calm himself down a little bit. You can tell, obviously, it's a big game for the young man leading the line for Manchester United. When the ball comes into him, he's looked a little bit untidy. Just looking at Marcus Rashford again, up against Van Hecke. Again, foot overs, goes on the outside. And what happened? Eriksen and Højlund both made themselves into the 6-yard box, so one of them has just got to pull out, and then if one of them pulls out, then they get a tapping into an empty net.
Manchester United 0, Brighton Hove Albion 1. 4 minutes gone in the second half. Crystal Palace lead at Aston Villa. There was that goal for Moussa Diaby ruled out by VAR in the first half of Villa. Well, Odsonne-Edouard had just put Palace ahead early in the second. No Roy Hodgson there today, who's poorly and has not attended the game at Villa Park, but his side are ahead through Odsonne-Edouard. 1-0 to the away side here as well at Old Trafford, as the floodlights are on, not really having too much of an effect. It's a cloudy day in Manchester, but not dark and overcast. Blackburn 2, Middlesbrough 0. Sammy Smodics with his second of the afternoon for Blackburn, and Michael Carrick's problems continue as Middlesbrough manager. Yet to win this season in the Championship, just one draw.
Where we are up here also in Manchester, this is relatively balmy for Manchester.
It is. 73,592 inside Old Trafford. The attendance confirmed at the start of this second half, but it's those who've made the trip up from the Sussex Downs that are happiest. Ball's back with the Brighton keeper, Jason Steele, and he clips the ball out to Lamptey, the diminutive full-back, out on the left-hand side, and he goes at pace down the left-hand side and plays a 1-2 with Mitoma. Was he blocked off by Dalot as he went for the return? No, says the referee, and we play on at 1-0 to Brighton.
Yeah, there's a good little battle, isn't it, down Brighton's left, Man United's right, between Dalot and Lamptey. Dalot did brilliantly there, because as Lamptey went to go on the overlap, Dalot, instead of running a straight line, he went diagonally just to make sure he blocked off Lamptey's run, made sure he got the ball back for Man United.
Neat turn from Rasmus Højlund on halfway, fires the ball into Rashford, inside left, he's going to get into the box again, the angle's tightening, hits the side netting with a left-footed strike. He had Van Hecke isolated there, did Marcus Rashford, but didn't take the opportunity to get a shot on target. Goal kick to Brighton, 6 gone in the second half, 1-0 to the Seagulls.
Good link-up play from Manchester United's front two. Højlund with a great little Cruyff turn in the centre circle, just then switches the ball out to the left-hand side. You said there, Dance, Rashford had Van Hecke where he wanted him, 1v1. In the end, to be fair to Van Hecke, Dance, every time Rashford's gone at him, he hasn't dived in. He stayed on his feet, hasn't he? He's waited to the last minute, showed him down the left-hand side. Rashford couldn't quite wrap his left foot around the ball.
Lovely drag back from Tariq Lamptey to take the ball away from McTominay, and it goes out onto the Brighton left and Kaoru Mitoma. Celtic lead Dundee by 1-0 in the Premiership. A penalty from David Turnbull. Celtic in Champions League action on Tuesday night against Feyenoord. I'll be bringing you commentary on that on Talksport 2 with Scott Minto. Here's Adingra for Brighton, who lead by 1-0, finding Welbeck. Veltman level with the edge of the Manchester United penalty area, tight to this near touchline. Welbeck receives the ball and strokes the ball back to halfway for Van Hecke. Now Dahoud in the centre circle. His opposite number, Fernandes, closing him down. But again, they're just playing these neat triangles of football, Brighton, to get out of trouble And the ball is laid off by Veltman to Welbeck on halfway. Pascal Gross with his orange boots finds Welbeck once again. Adingra, good close control. Wriggles away from Reguilon, who's still snapping at him, but Adingra's just checked his run and works it back towards the halfway line. And Veltman. Now here's Pascal Gross. Lincoln equalise at home to Carlisle in League One. Ethan Hamilton 1-1 there. Here's Mitoma for Brighton Hove Albion. Down the left hand side of the area, Lamptey nicks the ball in field. It's taken up by Pascal Gross. A dummy and a goal. Pascal Gross doubles Brighton's lead. They're at it again at Old Trafford. The last team to win here back in August last year. They're 2 goals clear this afternoon. Pascal Gross with a dummy to send a Man United centre-half completely out of the game, and then he strokes it low past Onana. Can you believe it? It's Manchester United 0, Brighton Hove Albion 2.
Dance again, it's another fantastic team goal from Brighton Hove Albion. Probably 20 passes, started out on this right-hand side. Danny Welbeck dropping deep, getting involved, then coming out to Adingra. Adingra then just switching it over to the left-hand side. No pressure on the ball from Manchester United. Goes out to Mitoma. Tariq Lamptey goes on the underlap. Mitoma comes inside, plays it into Lamptey. He plays a little ball into Pascal Gross. And you said there, I think Martinez is going to have to pay to get back in the stadium, Dance, because he's given him such a swerve there, Pascal Gross, where he's let the ball just roll across his body. Fantastic composure. Lets the ball run and then just whips it with his right foot low down to Onana's right hand side. Another fantastic team goal from Brighton Hove Albion to put them 2-0 up.
Pascal Gross, who scored both goals when Brighton won here by 2-1 last season, gets the goal and his second of the season in this campaign to really put Manchester United under pressure. Now, I was here a couple of weeks ago, Perry, when Manchester United were 2-0 down against Nottingham Forest, but that was after 5 minutes. We played nearly 55 this afternoon, and they've got to find a route back.
That's what happens. We said with Manchester United in the first half, they were, very good on the ball, though Brighton dominated possession when you come the last 15 minutes first half. Manchester United don't close down with any intensity. It's all half-hearted. When you're going to go and close down, you've got to make sure the first man goes and sprints, then the second man sprints further. They jog to close down, and Brighton are that good in possession, Dance. They'll just play around you, all 1 and 2 touch. So they're both their goals. First one from Danny Welbeck and the second one from Pascal Gross have been absolutely perfect team goals.
Well, I watched Roberto De Zerbi as Gross wheeled away in celebration. He sunk to his knees in deep joy. It's his first ever match coaching at Old Trafford. He says it's his dream to be coaching a side travelling to Old Trafford. Well, the dream's coming true for him this afternoon, Roberto De Zerbi. His team are 2-0 up. Live on Talksport 2 at Old Trafford. And now he's jumping up and down in frustration, De Zerbi, because again, Brighton have conceded possession. He doesn't betray his emotions at any point when he stood on the edge of that technical area.
That took me back to my punk rock days. I thought he was doing the pogo then.
He was, yeah. I like bouncing, boing, boing, boing.
And the reason he did is because he felt that when Martinez was in possession of Man United, that Danny Welbeck could have gone and closed him down and won the ball off of him. So it's just, I said about teams mirroring managers, and he's a live wire, isn't he, on the in the technical area. And now, even though his team were 2-0 up, he still wants them to be on the front foot.
Here's McTominay for Manchester United trying to respond. Bruno Fernandes out to the right hand corner of the Brighton penalty areas. United attack the Stretford end. Casemiro rolls the ball back to Lindelof, now at the centre of the Brighton half. Lindelof again gets his head up, options left and right, plays it just to his right for Fernandes, carries the ball forward, tries to drive and it's straight into the chest of Jason Steele, who holds onto it well because there were red shirts flying at him for any afters if he'd spilt it. 2-0 to Brighton.
Really good strike from Bruno Fernandes there, fully 25 yards out, right hand corner of Brighton's 18-yard box. He just puts his laces through the ball, but Jason Steele got a good sight of it and he just bounced aimlessly into his arms.
You're listening to Manchester United 0, Brighton 2 on Talksport 2 with Now. Don't forget that with Now you can stream all the Sky Sports action like Newcastle, Brentford, live today for £11.99, no contract. Search Now Sports. 57 minutes played on Talksport 2. Manchester United 0, Brighton Hove Albion 2. And here come United with Casemiro feeding the ball out wide right to Rasmus Højlund. who had a goal disallowed by VAR in the first half. Back in field to Bruno Fernandes, right hand corner of the box, looks for Højlund again, running across the 18-yard line. Rashford tries to get a shot in, and it's deflected over the bar for a Manchester United corner at the Stretford end. 2-0 Brighton.
There's a really good block there from Van Hecke. Ball coming out to Rashford via Rasmus Højlund. Again, Rashford trying to get it onto his right foot. It's been again a nice little personal battle there between Van Hecke and Marcus Rashford.
Here's Fernandes whipping the ball into the side netting. Didn't actually go in play, I don't think. Just got his angles all wrong there, the Manchester United captain. So it's a goal kick to Brighton and Hove Albion, and a couple of Brighton subs are being called back. Looks like Roberto De Zerbi's going to blink first in terms of making changes from his substitutes bench. Perry Groves, João Pedro's being spoken to. He will be on in just a moment. Meantime, here's Kaoru Mitoma down the left-hand side for Brighton, gives it back to the halfway line, and Pascal Gross, who scored Brighton's second. Van Hecke squares the ball in field for Lewis Dunk.
It's amazing in football, Dan. Pascal Gross made his debut, didn't he, midweek for Germany at 32, and he's getting better and better as he gets older.
Here's Veltman carrying the ball forward for Brighton at pace, rolls the ball into the area. Thought that Welbeck was continuing his run, but he just got his run held just for a moment. And Ansu Fati is going to be on shortly for his Brighton and Hove Albion debut, on loan from Barcelona. I think we're all intrigued to see how the 20-year-old gets on in the Premier League. Broke all sorts of records. João Pedro, as I mentioned, is coming on as well for a Brighton double change. Few Manchester United subs warming up too. They're 2-0 down, remember, Erik ten Hag's men. Fernandes, the captain, rides the challenge of Gross, cuts in field, tries to thread the ball through to Højlund, comes out to Rashford, left-hand corner of the area, tried to chip the ball into the box, but Gross was there on the scene and won it back. Brought down brilliantly by Adingra, like he's got carpet slippers on, and works it back to Pascal Gross, who passes back to Van Hecke.
I think you mean velvet carpet slippers, Dan.
They were velvet, absolutely. The most expensive money can buy. Ball's kept in play by Bruno Fernandes, but Welbeck's there to win it back, and now the atmosphere around Old Trafford just starting to shift a little bit, Perry Groves.
Well, I think if you're Erik ten Hag, he's got to be looking to change it up. You've got Nacho on the bench, Palestri on the bench. It needs a little bit of invention, it needs a freshness from Manchester United. As you said there, it's going to be De Zerbi who makes the changes first.
Wigan 1, Cambridge 0. Stephen Humphreys for Wigan, who'd long since cancelled out their minus points deficit at the start of the season in League One. Here in the Premier League, Manchester City 1-1 at West Ham, Palace 1-0 up at Villa, Fulham, Luton and Spurs, Sheffield United both goalless. And here at Old Trafford, live on Talksport 2, Brighton are 2-0 up on Manchester United. Gross finds Van Hecke, back to Jason Steele, the keeper, who this time elects to clear first time in the air. And Manchester United did win it back, but there's Lallana working hard for his team once more to win it back. Manchester United have the ball now on halfway with Christian Eriksen. Back it goes to Lisandro Martinez. Eriksen again, just to the right of the centre circle. Plays it out to the right-hand touchline. Diogo Dalot trying to outpace Mitoma. He's got the better of Mitoma. Now it goes past Lamptey. Great run from Dalot. Pulls it back to the far post, looking for Rashford, but Veltman heads it over the crossbar for a Manchester United corner. Superb work down the United right by Diogo Dalot, but Brighton still lead 2-0.
Brilliant wing play from Diogo Dalot. Just giving past the challenge of Mitoma, which was really weak. Tariq Lamptey then just dangles out a lead. He gets to the byline, just tries to chip it to the far post. In the end, it was a real good defensive header from Van Hecke.
Fleetwood 0, Oxford 3. Short corner for Manchester United at the Stretford end. Here's Bruno Fernandes, left-hand corner of the box. Plays the ball along the 18-yard line to Dalot, brings it down. He's being pressurised by Gross. Has to work it back to Christian Eriksen. Eriksen will drill the ball into the area. Welbeck gets a foot in for Brighton, and then it's one back by Adingra. Only Mitoma up with him as they try and counter. Adingra just drifts past Eriksen for a moment, gets up to halfway for Brighton and Hove Albion, then rolls it back 5 yards or so for Tariq Lamptey, and Brighton will slow the play down, and still João Pedro and Ansu Fati wait to be introduced. It's going to be Welbeck and Lallana that will make way for those two new Brighton players.
Just talking about Danny Welbeck, Dance, how well he's led the line for Brighton. You know, you got Rasmus Højlund up front for Man United, and Danny Welbeck, different stage of their career. Danny Welbeck just looks like a player that knows his craft. You know, he looks very comfortable in possession. He doesn't rush his first touch. He drops deep, gets involved. He scored his goal. Obviously, with Rasmus Højlund, who's up front for Man United, he's very, very raw.
I don't know how Jason still found that angle to play the pass out of his own penalty area to find Pascal Gross.
To be fair, I've just elbowed you because Jason Steele dummied me. I've just gone to my left-hand side. Jason Steele's gone to his left.
Amazing. He dropped his shoulder and sent us all the wrong way. So here come the changes for Brighton first of all, but there is going to be a double change for Manchester United as well. First of all, Adam Lallana and Danny Welbeck are being withdrawn. So Welbeck, who scored the goal to open matters here against his old club, along with Adam Lallana, and on comes João Pedro and Ansu Fati, as we mentioned, on loan from Barcelona, gets a huge cheer on his debut. But meantime, Manchester United are making two changes, and Martial is coming on for Højlund, and Casemiro is being withdrawn to allow Hannibal Mejbri, who spent last season on loan at Birmingham City, to come on in his place. Similar position, but probably a little bit more dynamic. Now, listen to the response from the United fans to that change as Højlund sees his number come up to be replaced by Martial. The locals are not happy with that whatsoever.
I think the reason being, Dance, is they want to see Højlund still on the pitch. If you're going to bring Martial in, put him up front with Højlund, put Marcus Rashford out to the left-hand side. You need as many forwards on the pitch as possible.
Here's Martinez, runs into João Pedro, wins the throw. Fulham 1, Luton 0. Carlos Vinicius puts Fulham ahead against Luton at Craven Cottage. Does that mean much of a change in system though for Manchester United? It's pretty much like for like, isn't it, Perry?
Well, it looks like Mejbri will go in a little bit more central position, a little bit more further forward than obviously Casemiro. It looks like Bruno Fernandes is going to drop that little bit deeper, maybe to be the playmaker.
I'm used to seeing Hannibal playing in the defensive midfield where he was when he was at Birmingham on loan last year. He's a walking yellow card, by the way. Here he is, and he's fouled. He actually earned a yellow card for Joel Veltman here, who chopped him down 25 yards out. But instead, the referee produces the vanishing spray from his pocket rather than a card. And it will be a free kick to Manchester United, about 30 yards out, pretty much dead centre. Brighton lead 2-0 on Talksport 2.
Really lucky there, Veltman, because Hannibal just nicked it off of him. Veltman was late. And if you're going to be consistent, to be fair, Jared Gillett has dished out 4 yellow cards.
Well, I was waiting for the yellow, weren't you?
Exactly, yeah.
Instead, he's marking out the shaving foam at the edge of the D for Brighton to set their wall up. Gives you an idea of just how far out this free kick is. QPR 1, Sunderland 2. Sunderland have turned it around. Daniel Ballard putting Sunderland 2-1 up, and Hearts 2-0 up on Aberdeen in the Scottish Premiership.
Marcus Rashford, obviously, I think is going to take this free kick, and he's going to have the Cristiano Ronaldo laces technique, where he's going to try and dip it.
3-man wall in front of him. Rashford up to the ball, right-footed, goes for goal, and it's well held by Steele. Just patted it down in front of him and held onto it. It was on target though from Marcus Rashford. Manchester United 0, Brighton 2, as we approach the last quarter of the game on Talksport 2.
He had the Brighton 3-man wall, the 3-man wall of Manchester United behind Brighton's 3-man wall. And to be fair to Jason Steele, he stood his ground. You know, goalkeepers sometimes gamble, you know, maybe go slightly to the left-hand side. Stood his ground in the middle of the goal and just collects it quite simply on his chest.
Bayern Munich next up for Manchester United, and that's away at the Allianz Arena. It's live on Talksport on Wednesday evening. Harry Kane, who scored 4 in 4, I think, for Bayern, including one against Leverkusen last night, off to a flyer. And here, flying down the Brighton left, is Tariq Lamptey, who's trying to get Mitoma in behind. Fati was making a run as well, but it was one back for Manchester United. Now it's Diogo Dalot clipping the ball up to Martial, holds the ball up well, fired left by McTominay for Rashford. Foot in from Veltman just to dispossess Rashford for a moment. Celtic 3, Dundee 0. Matt O'Reilly with the third for Celtic. They take on Feyenoord on Tuesday night in their first Champions League pitch to Celtic. And plenty more live football to come tonight. We've got Cardiff Swansea. Sunday lunchtime on Talksport 2, Millwall Leeds. Nigel Adderley and Scott Minto will be at the Den for that game. Monday night exclusive Premier League action on Talksport is Nottingham Forest against Burnley from 7 p.m. with Adrian Durham, Sam Matterface and Danny Murphy. And then we've got those Tuesday night Champions League games, not just Feyenoord Celtic, but also at 5:45 on Talksport. Newcastle back in the Champions League and playing AC Milan. But here, Brighton, who've got their first Europa League fixture, first ever European fixture on Thursday night against AEK Athens, 2-0 up against Manchester United. Here comes Reguilon down the left-hand side. Rashford skips inside. João Pedro goes down at the edge of the area, claims for a penalty, thumps the turf in frustration as Jarrett Gillett says no. And away come Brighton on the counter-attack. Maybe VAR will take a look at that. Meantime, Fati making a run through the middle, but it's well shepherded by Victor Lindelof and Lisandro Martinez. What did you make of that challenge on Rashford, Perry Groves?
On first look, Dance, I think Rashford might have clipped his own feet, because with brilliant nutmegs first on Veltman to get Marcus Rashford away from him.
Ball downfield looking for Rashford again. Van Hecker just calmly nods the ball out of play. It's currently Manchester United 0, Brighton 2. For the latest odds, head to William Hill, the official betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Manchester United to win 18-1, Brighton to hold on for the win 7-1 on. The draw is priced at 6-1. That's all thanks to William Hill. Get epic value all season with William Hill, 18 plus. And the website is begambleaware.org. Martial for Manchester United. Right-hand corner of the Brighton box. Left-footed ball deep to the far post looking for Reguilon. And Adingra gets his head to the ball and puts it behind for a Manchester United corner at the Stretford end. Just over 20 minutes to go. United 0, Brighton 2.
Yes, Adingra there doing his defensive duties. Just making sure he's tracking his runner. Christian Eriksen now on the corner duties from Manchester United's left-hand side. Will whip it in with his right foot.
So corner kick for Christian Eriksen, just by the tunnel at the Stretford end, drills it deep to the far post. It goes beyond everybody and out to the far side of the field. Bruno Fernandes will struggle to keep that in play, and he can't. And it will be a throw to the blue and white striped shirts of Brighton Hove Albion instead. Tranmere back in front at Crawley. Crawley 1, Tranmere 2. Another for Charlie Jolly for Tranmere. Villa 0, Palace 1, Fulham 1, Luton 0. Still goalless at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium between Spurs and Sheffield United. And here at Old Trafford, Manchester United 0, Brighton 2, and it's 1-1 for the blue half of Manchester. They have equalised early in the second half at West Ham. That's still the scoreline at the London Stadium. Here's Joel Veltman for Brighton. Bring the ball to the midway point of his own half in the right back position, plays the ball up to Adingra, lays it off to João Pedro, one of the two substitutes who've just come on for Roberto De Zerbi. And Brighton just knocking the ball about at the moment, Perry Groves.
Yeah, Manchester United have gone very passive, say it's half-hearted in there, closing down. Hannibal's trying to get Manchester United and drag them up.
Yeah, he's not half-hearted in terms of chasing after the ball.
The thing is though, Dance, he's chasing after the ball like a dog chases a tyre, and nobody else is backing him up. If you look at him, Eriksen's 15 yards.
Tariq Lamptey away down the left-hand side for Brighton, at pace into the area, pulls it back. João Pedro! 3-0! What a goal from João Pedro! And Brighton have torn Manchester United apart once again on the counter-attack. Tariq Lamptey came forward, slid it in field. João Pedro let the ball run across his body and placed a quite stupendous right-footed effort past Onana. Brighton fans going potty to my right, whereas elsewhere Manchester United fans heading for the exits. Brighton doing it again. They're heading for a fourth successive Premier League win against Manchester United, and they're mauling them. It's Manchester United 0, Brighton 3.
Dance, Brighton are pass masters. Again, it started from their right back position. They switch the play. We said about the half-hearted closing down from Manchester United. It makes the way out to Tariq Lamptey on the left-hand side. And it's Dalot who just lets Lamptey come inside of him, doesn't go and close him down. Lamptey just rolls it with his left foot to João Pedro. just coming into the 18-yard box. João Pedro just lets the ball roll across his body, side foots it impeccably past Onana. Full length dive to Onana's left hand side, absolutely no chance. What a fantastic finish there from João Pedro. Brighton have been absolutely outstanding in possession, and they deservedly go 3-0 up.
Wow, they are giving Manchester United a lesson in counter-attacking football this afternoon. 3-0 with 18 minutes to go. Can we play you every week comes the song from the southeast corner, which you might have predicted. As Mejbri comes forward, Hannibal to the edge of the area, goes for goal, and he gets one back for Manchester United. Great strike from Hannibal Mejbri, and he whips up the fans in the Sir Alex Ferguson stand opposite. Maybe there is a route back into this match for Manchester United after all. Hannibal reduces the arrears with a fantastic right-footed effort from fully 25 yards out. It's Manchester United 1, Brighton 3.
That's what exactly Manchester United need. Just possession from Martinez. Hannibal just picking the ball up in the number 10 position, essentially just gets the ball off of his chest onto his right foot. Nobody comes to close him down. Smashes left foot, gives Jason Steele absolutely no chance. Goes waist height to the left of Jason Steele. Brilliant strike from the young man. Manchester United 1, Brighton Hove Albion 3.
It's first Manchester United goal, I think, Hannibal Mejbri. And it's taken it back to 2 goals difference. And there is a bit more belief around Old Trafford now. 73 minutes gone, and now there's a foul on Lewis Dunk from Hannibal, who, as I said, likes a challenge and liked a yellow card. And he's just gotten a bit of an altercation with Lewis Dunk, who's a good 1.5 foot taller than he is. Get this for a scoreline: Tottenham 0, Sheffield United 1, Gustavo Harmer. And I bet that's a 25-yard beauty. He doesn't deal in 3-yard tap-ins, Harmer. 1-0 to the Blades at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Well, he's done a lot of harm to Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. Is that the curse of the manager of the month and the player of the month?
At the moment it is. Now James Milner is about to come on for Brighton. I think Tariq Lamptey's the player that's going off at the next break in play, and Billy Gilmore's going to come on for Mahmoud Dahoud as well. So another double change being ready by Roberto De Zerbi. Quarter of an hour to go on Talksport 2. Manchester United 1, Brighton 3. And you sense the goal scoring somehow isn't quite done yet, Perry Groves.
I think from Brighton's point of view, obviously De Zerbi would have snapped your arm off, wouldn't he, if you'd like 3-1 up coming into 75th minute, but he'll be devastated that nobody put Hannibal Mejbri on under pressure.
There's a crunching challenge on the left-hand side as Veltman and Reguilon both went to ground around the corner flag, and they both tumbled down off that very steep bank off the edge of the pitch. They're both okay, it seems, but that's a very steep bank that they have to worry about. Any player that goes off the playing surface here at Old Trafford, and it can cause you problems. They both went towards the tunnel, but they both picked themselves up, and it's going to be a corner kick to Manchester United at the Stretford end, to be taken by Christian Eriksen. Right-footed in swinger into the 6-yard line, headed out by João Pedro, picked up by Bruno Fernandes, sends it back into the box. Lindelof heads over the bar, had a good chance there, it was right in front of goal, 6 yards out, but couldn't keep the header down. Goal kick to Brighton, and here comes that double change for Brighton. James Milner and Billy Gilmore coming on, Tariq Lamptey and Mahmoud Dahoud coming off. Perry Groves, James Milner, with all those years of experience, maybe just to calm a few heads down out there in blue and white stripes.
Well, James Milner can actually play anywhere, Dance, can't he? Because you said there, it's looking like that he'll go over into that left back position.
Yep.
And then Billy Gilmore will just be like for Dahoud.
Meanwhile, West Ham 1, Manchester City 2. Bernardo Silva for Manchester City. They've come from behind at the London Stadium. Bristol Rovers lead at Shrewsbury by goal to nil. John Marquis. Ross County lead Livingston by goal to nil in the Scottish Prem. Wigan 2, Cambridge 1. Cambridge get a goal back from the penalty spot through Fajirio Konabiri. And with 13.5 minutes to go, it's Manchester United 1, Brighton Hove Albion 3. Erik ten Hag now at the edge of his technical area. So too Roberto De Zerbi, but of course, Ten Hag keeps a far calmer countenance than his opposite number. Rashford giving chase down the left-hand side, but he won't catch the ball up before it goes out of play for a Brighton goal kick. Bradford 0, Harrogate 1 in League 2. Bradford have got a brilliant home record, but Matty Daly has put Harrogate in front. They're 13 unbeaten at home, Bradford, but they do like a late goal at Valley Parade. Manchester United could do with a couple of late goals here just to get a point against Brighton Hove Albion, who are 3-1 up. You're with Talksport 2. Don't forget Catalan Dragons against Leeds at 5 o'clock in the Super League, straight after this commentary with Mark Wilson and Craig Murdoch, your commentary team, and then the South Wales Derby in the Championship at 7:45. Cardiff City against Swansea City. Joe Shannon and Chris Iwelumo will be your team for that game at the Cardiff City Stadium. Manchester United give possession up, and here's João Pedro darting over the halfway line. Fati to his left and Mitoma making a strong run down the left hand side, and Pedro's fed him. Mitoma's in the box, angles tight, hits it against the chest of Onana, and Manchester United can clear their lines. Off Fati, it goes out for a throw to Manchester United. A chance for Brighton to make it 4 then, Perry Groves.
Yeah, Marcus Rashford just sloppy in possession, give the ball away to João Pedro, puts inside Dalot for Mitoma, running in from that left hand side. Mitoma gets himself 1v1 with Onana, and Onana does brilliantly where he just does the long barrier, stays nice and big at his near post, ends up clearing the ball with his left arm.
Forward comes Sergio Reguilon for Manchester United. Rashford hugging the left-hand touchline just next to him. Picks it up now. 25 yards from the dead ball line. Infield it goes to Christian Eriksen. Eriksen now finds Lisandro Martinez. Fernandes back to Lindelof in the centre circle. Martinez again for Manchester United. 3-1 down. Finds Sergio Reguilon, who's had a decent game on his debut. Shows a clean pair of heels there to Fati. Cross goes into the box, and it's a header from Lewis Dunk. Quite brilliantly, bravely heading clear, with red shirts flying in all around him, but it's gone out of play for a Manchester United corner. Just over 10 to go, 3-1 Brighton.
Yeah, good play by Reguilon, get himself to the byline. The closer you get to byline, just got to make you stand the ball up. You said there, it looked like Martial was going to head it in from the 6-yard box, but Lewis Dunk making sure that he got in front.
Eriksen's corner into the near post, it's cleared away and out for a throw. We'll go for team news at St James's Park in just a moment with Steve Harmison, but Manchester United have got the ball deep inside the Brighton half of the field, and then Rashford goes down under minimal pressure from Veltman, and Brighton win it back. Maybe another counter from the Seagulls. No, it's one back on halfway. Gross has stayed down. Hannibal rides the challenge of Adingra, but then a foot in from João Pedro wins it back, and Brighton will bring the ball away. Let's get off to St James's Park and quickly get team news for Newcastle Brentford. Steve Harmison.
And Newcastle make 5 changes. Botman, Longstaff, Anderson, Wilson and Barnes come in for Targett, Tonali, Joe Linton, Isaac and Almiron. Tomac Frank makes 1 change. Collins in, Shardy out, and what looks like a formation change for Brentford.
Thanks, Harmy. Here come Brighton, 3-1 up, and Kaoru Mitoma playing the ball with the inside of his boot into the area, looking for either Fati or Pedro. Didn't find either of them. And Onana bowls the ball out instantly to Lisandro Martinez. Lazy ball over halfway, that was easily cut out at the back for Brighton, and the Seagulls have it again. Garnacho's going to be on shortly for another throw of the dice from Erik ten Hag. But Brighton 3-1 up, 10 minutes to go on Talksport 2. There's going to be a double change as well. It looks like Palestri is going to be on as well for Manchester United. So he is going for it, Erik ten Hag, he has to. No other choice at 3-1 down. João Pedro finds Van Hekke, and Evan Ferguson's going to come on for Brighton Hove Albion for Adingra in just a moment as well. Reading equalise at home to Bolton. Charlie Savage, son of Robbie, equalises for Reading at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. Here at Old Trafford, Brighton in possession. Rashford trying to close down Van Hekke. Pascal Gross just calmly passes the ball along his own 18-yard line to Lewis Dunk. Dunk gets his head up, wanted an option ahead of him, couldn't find one, so he squares the ball right for Van Hekke. Ball in field to Gilmour, turns neatly and finds Fati. Fati with a pass out to the left-hand side for Mitoma. Mitoma's got Milner making a run ahead of him, but he'll just caress the ball in field, and the ball's back with Billy Gilmour once again.
Again, it was far too easy, Dancis, to play out from the back from Brighton's point of view, because it came over to Lewis Dunk, and he just fed it into Billy Gilmore. He had no pressure whatsoever. He fields it into Ansu Fati, and Ansu Fati plays it out to Matoma on the left.
Gross for Brighton, who lead by 3-1 with 8 minutes to go. On Talksport 2 on Game Day exclusive. Going to be a triple change for Manchester United, actually. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is getting ready as well. So Garnacho, Pellistri and Wan-Bissaka all coming on for Manchester United shortly.
It's annoying when the manager does that. Can't he just do like 1 or 2 substitutions at a time?
Well, if he did it one at a time, it might lengthen the minimum stoppage time at the end of the game. Perry Groves alongside me, Ian Danta here at Old Trafford. Wrexham 3, Grimsby 0. Elliot Lee gets another goal for Wrexham. That's his 7th of the season in League 2.
A lot of ex-players' sons scoring today. You said Danny Mills' son scored, didn't he?
Yep.
Robbie Savage's son scored, and now Rob Lee's son.
Yep. Manchester United in possession on halfway with Diogo Dalot. Back it goes to Fernandes. The 4 substitutes, 3 for Manchester United, 1 for Brighton, all waiting patiently just down beneath us on the touchline, but the ball stayed in play for quite a while, and here's Reguilon getting in behind down the left-hand side for Manchester United. Good ball into the box. Milner comes across from left back to head clear, and it's helped further clear by Veltman. Adingra trying to beat Rashford to the bounce of the ball, but Rashford got there first, and the ball still stays in play, and the substitutions still can't be made with 6.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's just Brighton have just retreated into their 4-4-2 formation, 2 banks of 4.
Well, here's Dalot. He fouled his man Mitoma as he got past him. The assistant gave the free kick, and it'll be Brighton to clear the ball downfield. But here come the changes for Manchester United. So coming on are Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Garnacho's coming on, and Facundo Pellistri, Scott McTominay, Sergio Reguilon and Lisandro Martinez are the 3 coming off. And I think of those 3 coming off, I think Reguilon deserves a lot of praise and a lot of credit for his performance today, even if Manchester United are losing by 3-1, Perry.
Yeah, he's been excellent down the left-hand side from the first minute. Although he's playing in a flat back 4, really he played as a wing back, whereas Manchester United's main threat down the left-hand side linked up well with Marcus Rashford, so he can count himself a bit unlucky to come off. Maybe it's because he hasn't had a lot of game time, maybe his legs have gone a little bit.
So Alejandro Garnacho is going to be on as well. He likes a late goal. I think he scored a late goal, I remember, at Fulham. West Ham 1, Manchester City 3. Yeah, he scored again. Erling Braut Haaland, 7th of the season in the Premier League, and that's the point safe, you would say, for Manchester City. 3-1 up in East London. Brighton 3-1 up at Old Trafford. Substitutions made by both managers because Ferguson is on for Adingra for that 1 Brighton change. Had a sore knee. We wondered whether Evan Ferguson, the young Irish guy who scored a hat-trick against Newcastle last time out in the Premier League, might be out for a little while, but not so. He's out there, and he might get an early touch as João Pedro brings the ball down, finds Ferguson, tucks it back to halfway, and Veltman over the top down the right-hand side for João Pedro. Pedro plays the ball into the right-hand corner of the area where Ferguson collects it, gives it back to João Pedro, and Brighton keeping the ball in the Manchester United half of the field. Now they go back into their own half as Veltman fires it back to Van Hecke, and all the way back it goes to Jason Steele. Into the last 5 minutes of normal time. Steele fires it up to Ferguson, tries to turn Lindelof, who pushed him. Free kick to Brighton Hove Albion, and they lead by 3-1. And as it stands, they're going 3rd in the Premier League table, Brighton, ahead of their game against AEK Athens in the Europa League at the Amex on Thursday night.
But to be fair to Brighton, they've carried on where they left off against Newcastle, because they were outstanding, weren't they, down at the Amex against Newcastle with Evan Ferguson getting his hat-trick, and they've just carried it on, especially in possession where all the Brighton players are very, very comfortable. From Man United's point of view, Garnacho's come out to this left-hand side, Pellistri on the right-hand side. Basically they've gone 4 up front with Martial and Rashford through the middle.
Dunk will work the ball back to goalkeeper Steele. Steele again, a short pass, finding Van Hecke, right-hand corner of his own penalty area. Throws the ball up to the halfway line, but it's well won back by Dalot, ahead of João Pedro. Fati goes in strongly to win the ball off Pellistri, and here come Brighton on the counter-attack. João Pedro, Fati's made a run through the middle, uses a dummy, it's fed to Ferguson, shoots straight at the legs of Onana, who blocks it away. Another chance for Brighton to extend their lead, as Evan Ferguson's the latest to have a go, but saved by Onana. 3-1 Brighton.
Yeah, I think João Pedro picked the wrong option there, because Andrew Fati made a brilliant run from this right-hand side centrally, and if João Pedro would have released him, it'd have been in 1v1 with Onana. In the end, he decides to come out to the right-hand side to Evan Ferguson, and gets his shot away. Really strange save, Dan, wasn't it, from Onana there, because it's gone straight to him and he's gone off balance a little bit. He's gone to his right hand side.
Well, it was almost like a cricketer who's trying to stop
long
the ball
barrier
going through his legs on the boundary.
Yeah, exactly, long barrier. Just very, very strange technique.
Ferguson keeping the ball tight to the byline, but it's won back by Manchester United, but the clearance only finds Van Hecke, rolls it into the feet of Gross, gives it back to Van Hecke. Fati now centre of the Manchester United half, plays a lovely ball to the right hand corner of the area. João Pedro pulls it back, Fati goes for goal. That's a comfortable save for Onana, plunging to his left. Derby lead Portsmouth late on in League One, of James Collins' penalty, and Birmingham City down to 10 at Watford. That's still 0-0, but Lee Buchanan gets a second yellow card. 2 lemons make a
strawberry,
and he's gone. 3-1 Brighton at Old Trafford. Don't forget the game day phone in. Once everything's done here, we have Catalans against Leeds Rhinos in the Super League next up on Talksport 2. But Manchester United fans, if you want to react to what you've seen, and Brighton fans for that matter, as you head back down to Sussex, Jamie O'Hara and Gabby Agbonlahor with the game day phone in. 03717 223344. That gets underway at 5:30 once Adrian Durham's given you a full classified check, and you will hear from the headline makers here at Old Trafford in the tunnel with Mickey Gray in conversation with both managers during the course of either Adrian's classified check or the phone in with Jamie and Gabby. That's over on Talksport. 03717 223344. Brighton win possession on the halfway line. Lewis Dunk, first loose pass of the afternoon from Dunk, but Veltman rescued it a little bit, but Manchester United win it back. Down the left-hand side, it's with Palestri looking to work it back, but the offside flag goes up against him. So it is going to be a free kick to Brighton Hove Albion, and we're in the last minute of normal time, plus whatever Jared Gillett wants to add on for injuries and substitutions. It is Manchester United 1, Brighton Hove Albion 3, and it's going to be a 4th straight Premier League win for Brighton against their illustrious opponents, it seems. QPR 1, Sunderland 3. Abdullah Ba with a late third for Sunderland. Aston Villa 1, Crystal Palace 1. John Duran, the South American, equalises for Villa late on against Palace. Palestri runs into João Pedro, just calmly took the ball off his toe and works the ball downfield to Evan Ferguson. He lays it off to Pascal Gross. And you're absolutely right to mention winning his first cap for his country, Germany, at the age of 32 in the week. Pascal Gross. 6 minutes of added time is what we're into now on Talksport 2 at Old Trafford, and Fati wins a free kick for Brighton, and it will be a chance for them to get the ball downfield and out of trouble. Reading 2, Bolton 1. Caelan Vickers could have won it for Reading with a few minutes to play against Bolton. Have had a very good start to the season in League One under Ian Evatt. What a great start to the season for Brighton and Hove Albion. Only the one blot on their copybook, Perry, and that was the home defeat to West Ham, which not many would have seen coming on their accas. Now Garnacho gives the ball away, and down this right hand side comes Evan Ferguson. Watford 1, Birmingham 0. Mileta Rajovic late on for the Hornets at Vicarage Road.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm alright.
You're right. Battle on, trooper.
Ball's back with Lewis Dunk. Van Hecke at the edge of his own 18-yard box, rolls it back to Jason Steele. Again a short pass for Lewis Dunk, despite the fact that Martial's 3 yards away from him. Steele plays it to the centre of the half. Ferguson dispossessed by Lindelof, rolls it up to the edge of the area. What a challenge from Lewis Dunk. Stepped in front of Martial and won the ball back, and here come Brighton on the counter. Ferguson rides the challenge of Hannibal, who brought him down, and that is the almost obligatory yellow card for Hannibal Mejbri. 3-1 Brighton.
Well, to be fair to Hannibal Mejbri, he's looked lively, Dan, since he would come on. You can tell he's that sort of aggressive, niggly player where he goes and closes the ball down. Ferguson realises that he's going to be a bit late on him. Hannibal Mejbri just slides in, gives Jared Gillett, referee, no option but to given the yellow card, and it just winds the clock down a little bit for Brighton.
Was that the Brighton fans just singing "We're just too good for you"? 3-1 Brighton lead in added time. Colchester 1, Mansfield 1. Mansfield equalised. Davis Keeler done.
Offside.
No, apparently not. There's no VAR. No VAR. 1-1 at the job serve. 3-1 to Brighton at Old Trafford. And we're in the 3rd minute of 6 that have been added on. Through ball, finds Ansu Fati inside the area. Fati saved by Onana. Brilliant stop to deny Ansu Fati a goal on his Brighton debut. Just got fingertips to it, Onana. It stays 3-1 to Brighton as Gilmour played a sensational through ball, setting Fati away through the middle, but Onana denied him.
Dance, that's a spotter's badge from Billy Gilmour. Just slides it alongside Bruno Fernandes, and I think Ansu Fati actually just took too long, Dance. As you said there, it's Fernandes who got a little touch, and then Onana, it was a brilliant full-length save with his left hand, go over to Roberto De Zerbi, puts his head in his hands because he realises what a brilliant flip that could have been for Ansu Fati. He's looked lively since he came on, but he should be scoring.
Corner taken by Brighton. They're trying to keep ball down at the corner flag at the southeast corner, where the Brighton fans are loving every second. João Pedro urges them to make a bit more noise, and they duly respond. They've won a throw 10 yards from the corner flag.
We mentioned earlier, Dance, about Roberto De Zerbi 9, the history of Brighton, and 9, like they played at the Withdean, didn't they, when they dropped down the leagues? If you said to Brighton fans that you would be giving Manchester United the Olays with your team 3-1 up with 2 minutes to go,
you'd think have a word. We've played 3.5 minutes of the minimum 6 that have been added on. Manchester United 1, Brighton 3. There are a few more empty red seats around the stands as some of the home fans decide they've seen enough. They've given the ball up again, Manchester United. What a challenge. Bruno Fernandes, though, as Mitoma threatened to carve through once more. Hannibal guarding the ball down the right-hand side. Mitoma gets back with a challenge. It breaks down the right-hand side of the box for Palestri. Palestri drives for the byline, pulls it back behind Hannibal, who was well placed, but it just didn't find him. And instead, Brighton come away with the ball, and it's Billy Gilmour just touching the ball off to João Pedro. Gives it back to the Scot, Gilmour. And now down for James Milner, and Brighton will look to calm it down again. They're 3-1 up, remember.
Well, the game's got really stretched now. Manchester United have completely lost their shape. You've seen Bruno Fernandes end up in the centre-half position. Diogo Dalot sort of centre-half alongside Victor Lindelof.
And again, the Olays, which stop promptly as Ansu Fati can't get onto a long ball downfield. What did I say about Bradford and the late goals? They've done it again. Bradford 1, Harrogate 1, Jamie Walker. Balls with Diogo Dalot. And now Palestri down the right-hand side of the area. Martial, who came on as a second-half substitute for Højlund. Substitution that was not greeted with great cheer from the home fans. Now Garnacho on this near side of the United left. Finds Dalot. Now Lindelof out to Bruno Fernandes, the United captain. Time running out for Manchester United. We're into the last minute of minimum stoppage time, and they've got to find 2 goals from somewhere just to earn a point. Hannibal, who got their 1 goal not long after Brighton went 3-0 up to give him a little bit of hope, finds Bruno Fernandes, drills the ball into the area, nowhere near Rashford, volleyed away for Brighton by Veltman. Watford 2, Birmingham 0. Ryan Andrews settles the game at Vicarage Road in the Championship. Here's Wan-Bissaka, who's seen very little of the ball since coming on as a Manchester United substitute. Hannibal guides the ball down to his captain Fernandes, infield to Garnacho. Now here's Diogo Dalot popping up inside left, out to the left-hand side, and Rashford. Garnacho pulls it back to the edge of the 6-yard box. Martial can't get a piece of it, and it defensively deflects away for a throw-in, and the offside flag's going to go up against the Manchester United player anyway. So more frustration for the home fans, and there are plenty of empty red seats now, Perry Groves.
Yep. To be fair, Dance, there was a bit of an exodus, wasn't there, when João Pedro scored Brighton's 3rd goal to put them 3-0 up. And you can understand the frustration of the Manchester United fans, because apart from the first 25-30 minutes, then Brighton have been the better side. Brighton have been better in possession, better out of possession, more intense in their closing down, and Brighton have scored 3 absolutely fantastic team goals.
the full-time whistle goes and the boos of those around Old Trafford, it's actually drowned out by the cheering from the Brighton fans to our right-hand side. And after a turbulent fortnight off the field for Erik ten Hag and Manchester United, it's got even worse with what's happened on the pitch this afternoon as Brighton get their fourth successive win against Manchester United in the Premier League. They were the last team to win here in the top flight August last year. They've now repeated that by winning by 3-1. And after an opening quarter in which Manchester United showed Brighton a good deal of pressure and created opportunities, suddenly Danny Welbeck, the old boy of Old Trafford, put Brighton and Hove Albion ahead, and from that there was really no looking back for the Seagulls. It was 1-0 at half time. They made it 2 and 3 in the second half. João Pedro with a third late on. Pascal Gross scored again against Manchester United, as he'd done in the 2-1 win here last season. Hannibal got what proved to be only a consolation for Manchester United, but Brighton go third in the Premier League with this win. Manchester United languishing in mid-table, and plenty more questions to answer, Perry Groves.
Yeah, very much so. I said, Dance, first 22-25 minutes Manchester United were the better side. Rashford looked really lively with Reguilon down that left-hand side, but Brighton Hove Albion are absolutely fantastic, Dance, in possession. We saw the coaching staff of Brighton all run onto the pitch. They all run up to Jason Steele, give him a massive hug, to Lewis Dunk as well, because that's where a lot of Brighton's passing plays start from the back. And every goal from Danny Welbeck's goal, which was brilliant, over from Adam Lallana, Pascal Gross, we've got the ball inside from Tariq Lamptey, let the ball run across him and give a see you later to Martial. Then João Pedro opened his body up to make it 3-0. All of those 3 goals, Dance, were 10 passes and more, and that's because Manchester United are lazy out of possession. They don't go and close down.
The roar you can hear is the Brighton fans to our right, who are showing such huge appreciation for their players as they come and acclaim their supporters just down to our right hand side. Players, substitutes, ancillary staff, and of course Roberto De Zerbi in amongst it as well. He has worked the oracle yet again for Brighton and Hove Albion, this time against Manchester United. He said it was his dream to come and coach here. What a dream result for those heading back to Sussex tonight.
The thing is, Dance, as well, it turned into a nightmare, didn't it, for Erik ten Hag and his Manchester United side. And the Brighton fans were singing "Can We Play You" every week, because obviously the last defeat Manchester United had here at Old Trafford was the first game of last season, even though that was under Graham Potter. So that was 31 games unbeaten Manchester United were before today. And Brighton and Hove Albion have come here and they've given Manchester United a lesson how to manipulate the ball. Every player knew their job. Out of possession, there's intensity from them. That doesn't happen from Manchester United. Obviously there was boos when Rasmus Højlund was given the hook, wasn't there, when Martial come on, because I think the Man United fans felt that they wanted to keep 2 centre forwards up front. But you have to say that it was a well-deserved 3-1 victory for Brighton and Hove Albion.
Perry, thank you once again, as always, for being with us this afternoon. What a result for Roberto De Zerbi and Brighton, but more questions to answer for Erik ten Hag and Manchester United. It's finished Manchester United 1, Brighton 3 here at Old Trafford. Coming next on Talksport, after Adrian brings you all the classified results, it'll be the game day phone-in with Jamie O'Hara and Gabby Agbonlahor, where you can have your say about your team's result today, including Manchester United and Brighton fans listening to this. 03717 223344 is the number that you need. But right now, Talksport 2 is going to bring you some live Super League action. Catalan Dragons taking on the Leeds Rhinos. Bringing you all the action is Craig Murdoch alongside your match commentator, Mark Wilson.